Chapter 1398. Old man Qin raised his eyebrows and looked at Mu Zhongyun, coldly snorting, "My great Qin will not allow you people from the Forgotten Continent to be presumptuous." Boom! Divine power surged out, roaring towards Mu Zhongyun. False god! Mu Zhongyun was stunned. But then, a hint of disdain climbed up the corner of his mouth. With a flick of his sleeve, the mighty divine power rolled in all directions, and old man Qin immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. What? Peak false god realm! Old man Qin exclaimed, his face pale. Peak false god realm. What's going on? There's actually a peak false god realm who came to find trouble with Qin Feiyang. Hearing old man Qin's exclamation, everyone's faces were full of horror. Old man Qin, ignore them, follow me. Qin Feiyang's voice came from the teleportation gate. Old man Qin glanced at Mu Zhongyun gloomily, turned around, and rushed into the teleportation gate. Little bastard, I will make you pay the price today. Mu Zhongyun's face was ferocious, and his whole body was like a comet, crashing into the teleportation gate. Qin Feiyang, a man, don't be a coward. Wang Su also roared and rushed towards the teleportation gate. What do you want to do? However, at this moment, Lu Xingqian took a step forward, blocking in front of Mu Zhongyun. Get lost! Mu Zhongyun didn't even look and directly shouted. Lu Xingqian was taken aback. His face darkened as he asked, say that again. His eyes were filled with a cold light. Mu Zhongyun was stunned, looking at Lu Xingqian, a trace of surprise climbed up on his face. You are? Yes, it's me. Lu Xingqian said expressionlessly. Mu Zhongyun's body trembled, and he hurriedly bowed, greetings, but before he could finish his words, Lu Xingqian stretched out his hand to stop Mu Zhongyun, take me to the Forgotten Continent. But, Mu Zhongyun was about to talk about how Qin Feiyang had gone to the Forgotten Continent to set up a trap for the Mu family, but Lu Xingqian's gaze turned cold as he shouted, do you need me to repeat myself? Mu Zhongyun's neck shrank. He could only suppress the anger in his heart. He took Lu Xingqian and flew towards the space-time gate. Looking at the space-time gate, the anger in Mu Zhongyun's heart was uncontrollable. The gate of time and space originally belonged to the Mu family. But now, it was shared by everyone. He was unwilling to accept this. At the same time, Lu Xingqian looked at the gate of time and space as he passed through it. A hint of hostility flashed in his eyes. However, without any hesitation, he followed behind Mu Zhongyun and quickly disappeared in the direction of the Fire Phoenix mountain range. Although Mu Zhongyun left, Wang Su didn't. He stared at the disappearing portal and roared, Qin Feiyang, are you still a man? If you are still a man, come back immediately and explain it to this old man face to face. Old Wang, all these grievances are only between me and the Chief Tower Master. It has nothing to do with you. Why do you have to do this? Qin Feiyang's sigh came from the portal. What a joke. This old man is a member of the Chief Tower. The Chief Tower Master's business is naturally this old man's business. Ask yourself with your conscience, how did my Chief Tower treat you? How did I, Wang Su, treat you? Why do you repay kindness with ingratitude? The most excessive thing is that you actually deceived this old man's granddaughter's feelings. This is absolutely unforgivable. Wang Su roared. What is the Chief Tower? Is it very powerful in the Forgotten Continent? Everyone was suspicious. For many people present, today was the first time they heard the name of the Forgotten Continent, let alone the Chief Tower in the Forgotten Continent. But there was one point that they all understood. Qin Feiyang not only went to the Forgotten Continent, but also deceived this old man's granddaughter. This old man came to collect debts. However, Qin Feiyang's voice never sounded again. The portal also dissipated into the void. Wang Su stopped in the air above the plaza, looking at the place where the portal disappeared, his face ashen. The state preceptor and Emperor Hong looked at each other, flew in front of Wang Su, and cupped their hands. "May I ask who you are?" Wang Su turned a deaf ear. The state preceptor frowned and was about to speak. Wang Su finally retracted his gaze, looked at the two of them, and said indifferently, "I am Chief Tower Elder Wang Su, who are you?" Seeing Wang Su's arrogant attitude, the state preceptor was very unhappy in his heart, and said, "This old man is the great Qin state preceptor, this is Lord Emperor Hong, the son of the Qin Emperor." "What? The son of the Qin Emperor?" Wang Su looked at Emperor Hong, his old face full of shock. Emperor Hong smiled and asked, "Elder Wang knows my late father?" "The name of the Qin Emperor shakes the 4 seas, I naturally know." Wang Su cupped his hands and said, his attitude rather polite. Emperor Hong smiled, and said, "May I ask Elder Wang, what has Qin Feiyang done in the Forgotten Continent all these years? To make you so angry?" "Humph! This bastard beast." Wang Su snorted coldly, looked at Emperor Hong and said, "Since you are the son of the Qin Emperor, then you should also be Qin Feiyang's elder. When you have time, discipline him properly, so as to not bring a calamity to your great Qin in the future." Finished. Wang Su then soared into the air, disappearing into the gate of time and space. The state preceptor sneered, "Lord Emperor Hong, did you see that? This is Qin Feiyang. No matter where he goes, he is a rat crossing the street, everyone wants to kill him." Emperor Hong glanced at the state preceptor, and also flew up into the sky, standing in front of the gate of time and space. The gate of time and space that was connected was like a large open door. Standing at the door, one could clearly see the situation on both sides. And opposite the gate of time and space was the main tower's Pill Tower Plaza. At this moment, the Pill Tower Plaza was also packed with people. There were people from the various super tribes, disciples of the main tower, and disciples of the Holy Tower and Holy Mountain. They also looked at the gate of time and space curiously, discussing animatedly. Among the crowd, a young man, about 25 or 26 years old, wearing a pair of big pants, his skin was slightly tanned, and his temperament was extraordinary. He looked at the gate of time and space and said, "Tell me, how is the young master doing in the great Qin Empire?" "That's right." This person was Wang Zicheng. Next to Wang Zicheng, there were 7 young men and women. Their appearances were all different and uneven. But without exception, whether it was their aura or temperament, they were all very outstanding. Standing in the crowd, like a crane in a flock of chickens, it was hard not to notice. They were the Black Monkey, Dead Face, Big Barbarian Bull, Ice Queen, Ghost Queen, and the Shen-Yi brothers. Hearing Wang Zicheng's words, the Black Monkey laughed and said, "Is there a need to say? As the descendant of the Qin Emperor, and also received the inheritance of the Qin Emperor, the young master will definitely be doing well in the great Qin Empire." That's not necessarily true. Back then, the young master said that his relationship with the great Qin Empire was not that good. Dead Face said with a straight face. That was back then. Now that the young master is so strong, even the Mu family dares to make trouble, let alone the great Qin Empire. The Black Monkey immediately retorted. Speaking of the Mu family, I really admire the young master. Not only did he kill all the Mu family's war emperors, even Yiglao died in the Endless Sea. This method is really not something that the few of us can compare to. Big Barbarian Bull exclaimed. The Ice Queen, Ghost Queen, and the Shen-Yi brothers also nodded, their faces full of admiration. Wang Zicheng rolled his eyes and said to himself, "Now, as long as we pass through the space-time gate, we can directly enter the great Qin Empire's imperial capital. Should we go and take a look?" The Black Monkey and the others looked at each other and were a little tempted. Shen-Yi frowned and said, "That's not good, we are now disciples of the main pagoda. If we want to go to the great Qin Empire, shouldn't we ask the main pagoda master first?" Back then, the main pagoda master sent people to Qinghai to investigate. In the end, he took a fancy to the talent of Wang Zicheng and the others and wanted to take them in for his own use. Wang Zicheng later asked Qin Feiyang, and Qin Feiyang also agreed to let them enter the main pagoda. So now, Wang Zicheng and the others, not only had they joined the main pagoda, but they had also become disciples of the Saint Peak. Moreover, the main pagoda master valued the 8 of them and did not hesitate to nurture them. As a result, their cultivation was about to break through to the 3-star war emperor. Of course, compared to Viper and Dan Wangkai, they were still far from it. After all, Viper and Dan Wangkai were cultivating in the castle. 1 day was equivalent to 10 days. Ask for what? It's not like we're really working for the main pagoda. Moreover, with our talent, even if the main pagoda master knows that we went to the great Qin Empire without permission, he won't say anything. Wang Zicheng said proudly. Then, hearing Wang Zicheng's words, Shen Yi couldn't help but feel restless. Let's go. The black monkey secretly yelled, and the group of 8 immediately flew toward the dimensional gate in a grandiose manner. What are you going to do? Seeing this, the other main pagoda disciples immediately looked at the 8 of them and asked. The 8 of them completely ignored them and turned into streams of light, directly passing through the space-time gate. Stop! Emperor Hong was standing at the side, watching the 8 of them enter the imperial capital openly. He frowned slightly and shouted. Who are you? What qualifications do you have to control us? Wang Zicheng looked at Emperor Hong proudly. Emperor Hong was stunned. Other than Qin Feiyang, there was actually someone who dared to speak to him like this? Old man, don't block the way, okay? Just now, Lord Snow Python said that people from both continents can freely enter and leave. Do you want to disobey Lord Snow Python's orders? The black monkey shouted. The imperial preceptor below, as well as the people of the imperial city, were all dumbfounded as they watched this scene. Were these 8 people stupid? Did they know who the old man standing in front of them was? He actually dared to be so presumptuous. Emperor Hong's face twitched as he asked, do you know my identity in the great Qin Empire? Who cares about your identity? In short, a good dog doesn't block the way. Dead Face said indifferently. What's the point of talking nonsense with him? Just go around him. The big barbarian bull coldly snorted, and really went around Emperor Hong's side. That expression, that gaze, was completely treating Emperor Hong as heir. Wang Zicheng and the others glanced at Emperor Hong, and also brushed past him. With a face full of excitement, they flew towards the city below without looking back. Emperor Hong's veins were bulging. But in the end, because he was afraid of angering the snow python, he still endured it, shook his head, and sighed, young people nowadays are really rampant. After saying that, he turned into a stream of light with a heart full of helplessness and disappeared from the back mountain of the imperial palace. The imperial preceptor looked at Wang Zicheng and the others with deep meaning, and also opened a teleportation gate, disappearing without a trace. Not long after Emperor Hong and the imperial preceptor left, a few bold people in the main tower also followed Wang Zicheng and the others and entered the sky above the imperial city, their eyes full of surprise. Similarly. Chapter 1399. The 2 continents had entered an era of communication. Qin Feiyang didn't care at all. There was a saying that went, counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. It was useless to worry all day, so it was better to face it calmly. On a mountain peak, Qin Feiyang and Old Man Qin stood side by side. Old Man Qin looked in the direction of the imperial city and frowned. Lu Xingchen is really Mu Tianyang? Qin Feiyang nodded. Then you have to be careful in the future. Cooperating with such a person is equivalent to asking a tiger for its skin. Old Man Qin said in a deep voice, full of worry. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, isn't he also asking a tiger for its skin by cooperating with me? You brat. Old man Qin shook his head helplessly and said, you are very smart, but after all, you are still young. And Mu Tianyang, as the emperor of the previous dynasty, is on the same level as the late emperor. Without waiting for old man Qin to finish, Qin Feiyang said, but in the end, didn't he still lose to the ancestor? Old man Qin said, the late emperor is the late emperor, and you are you. There is no comparison between you and the late emperor. I don't think so. I always believe that as long as I work hard, what the ancestor can do, I, Qin Feiyang, can also do. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands tightly, and his eyes were filled with a determined light. Seeing this, old man Qin couldn't help but shake his head with a hint of ridicule. In old man Qin's heart, no. In the hearts of everyone in the great Qin, the late emperor was an unsurpassable existence. He was the god of the great Qin. Therefore, in old man Qin's view, Qin Feiyang's thoughts were a little too naive. Qin Feiyang didn't take it to heart and said with a smile, there is still half a month before the miracle opens. Old man, where are you going during this time? Me. Old man Qin fell silent. A moment later, he laughed self-deprecatingly and said, now this old man is already a traitor, where else can I go? Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and said with a smile, I do have a place, but I don't know if you are willing to go. Where? Old man Qin. Ancient pagoda. Qin Feiyang said. Now that he was lacking false gods, if old man Qin was willing to enter the ancient pagoda, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. But that was only secondary. The main purpose of letting old man Qin enter the ancient castle was actually for Wang Yangfeng and the rest as well as the thunder leopard and the other two beasts. Now, Wang Yangfeng and the others, as well as the thunder leopard and the other two beasts, had already reached the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. It was urgent for them to comprehend the ultimacy of becoming gods. But it was common knowledge. To comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god was not an ordinary difficulty. Therefore, if they had the help of old man Qin, who was a ready-made fake god, they would definitely be able to comprehend it much faster than if they were to comprehend it on their own. Furthermore, they hadn't opened the door of potential yet, so they needed old man Qin's help. Ancient pagoda, old man Qin remained silent. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, don't worry, I won't restrict your freedom. You can leave or stay as you wish. Old man Qin raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Seeing Qin Feiyang's sincere expression, he nodded and smiled, all right, this old man is also very curious. What kind of spatial divine item is that ancient pagoda? But before we go to the ancient pagoda, can you let this old man take a look at your ancient castle first? Of course. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. With a wave of his hand, the two of them entered the ancient castle. Greetings, old man Qin. Fatso, Wang Yangfeng and the others all stood up and bowed. Old man Qin looked at them one by one. In the end, old man Qin's gaze locked onto Fatso, Wolf King, Lu Hong, and the pangolin beast who had followed Qin Feiyang since the beginning. His old eyes were filled with disbelief. These guys had actually already stepped into the combat emperor realm. Oh my god! How did they do it? Even if they had opened the gate of potential, it was impossible for them to be so fast. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said with a mysterious smile, old man Qin, tell me a secret, but you have to promise me that you won't tell anyone, including the emperor. Old man Qin was startled. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, you're so cautious, what secret? Promise me first. Qin Feiyang said. All right, this old man promises. Old man Qin nodded. Qin Feiyang laughed, actually, the time rules inside this ancient castle are different from outside. What do you mean? Old man Qin was puzzled. What I mean is that there is a difference between the time here and the time outside. 10 days in the castle, 1 day outside. Fatso chuckled. What? Old man Qin was dumbstruck. 10 days in the castle, only 1 day outside. What a joke, how could there be such a heaven-defying thing? However, when he looked at the others, he found that they were all serious and didn't seem to be joking at all. Old man Qin swallowed his saliva, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Really?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Old man Qin's expression became dull again, he really couldn't accept it. This was simply too ridiculous. After a long time, old man Qin finally calmed down the shock in his heart and scanned the crowd. It turned out that this was the reason why everyone had improved so quickly. Phew! He let out a long sigh of relief, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Let's go to the ancient pagoda to take a look." "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, looked at Thunder Leopard, Wang Yangfeng and the others, and said, "You guys accompany old man Qin to the ancient pagoda." "What about you?" Thunder Leopard asked. "I suddenly remembered that I still have something to deal with." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he sent a sound transmission, "Make good use of it, because if you want to open the gate of potential, you will need old man Qin's help." As soon as they heard about the gate of potential, Thunder Leopard, Wang Yangfeng and the others couldn't help but become excited. Thunder Leopard thought to himself, "Don't worry, I will definitely take good care of him." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, waved his hand, and the group immediately disappeared. Qin Feiyang also took an illusory form pill and turned into a middle-aged man. Then, he left the ancient castle, opened the teleportation gate, and directly entered the inner city. At the same time, Mu family. In the great council hall, Lu Xingqian sat on the main seat, staring at Mu Changyun and Mu Changfeng who were standing opposite him, his face as gloomy as water. At the side, Mu Qing's hands were tightly clenched together, his eyes were bloodshot, and his entire body was filled with an astonishing amount of hostility. And opposite him, Mu Changyun and Mu Changfeng stood respectfully, their heads lowered, not daring to look at Lu Xingqian. The two supreme existences at the peak of the false god realm were like two children who had done something wrong in front of Lu Xingqian, terrified and uneasy. Bang! Suddenly, Lu Xingqian slammed his palm on the table and stood up. Mu Changyun and Mu Changfeng's bodies trembled, and they directly knelt on the ground, their faces full of panic. Lu Xingqian looked at the two coldly and said, "When Mu Qing returned from the 9 nether yellow springs, did I ask him to tell you not to underestimate Qin Feiyang?" "Yes." The two nodded repeatedly. "Then tell me now, what exactly are you doing?" "The current patriarch has fallen into the hands of the main tower. The combat emperors in the family were all killed. Even Yiglao was buried in the endless ocean. Is this how you protect them?" Lu Xingqian roared, his hair standing on end. He never thought that the Mu family in the Forgotten Continent would be cheated so miserably by Qin Feiyang. Mu Changfeng hurriedly said, "Father, we know our mistakes." Mu Changyun also nodded repeatedly. "What's the use of knowing your mistakes now?" Lu Xingqian became even more furious. He took a step forward and slapped the two on the face. The two kneeled on the ground, covering their old faces and trembling. "You have disappointed me too much. When I asked you to bring your family to the Forgotten Continent, I wanted you to hide your strength and recuperate to prepare for the revival of the Heavenly Sun Empire. But now, apart from the two of you, what is left of the Mu family? What are you standing there for? Answer me!" Lu Xingqian roared. Mu Changfeng's body trembled, and he said in a low voice, "The strongest people left now are combat saints." "I can't hear you, speak louder." Lu Xingqian shouted. Mu Changfeng quivered and shouted, "Among the people left in the Mu family, the strongest is a 9-star combat saint." "The strongest is a 9-star combat saint," Lu Xingqian coldly looked at the two, and said, "Then tell me, with the strength of the Mu family now, how can we destroy the great Qin Empire?" The two lowered their heads, not daring to breathe loudly. Mu Qin glanced at Mu Changfeng and Mu Xingchen before walking to Lu Xingchen's side. He cupped his hands and said, "My lord, you can't blame the two ancestors for this. It's all because Qin Feiyang is too hateful." Qin Feiyang, Lu Xingchen muttered to himself, his eyes filled with murderous intent. From the time the two ancestors said, when Qin Feiyang came to the Forgotten Continent, it just so happened that Shen Mei was kidnapped by the imperial tutor. In my opinion, Shen Mei being kidnapped by the imperial tutor was most likely a trick set up by this bastard. Mu Qin said again, his tone was quite gloomy. "You mean, Qin Feiyang used Shen Mei to pin us down, so that we couldn't do anything else, and then took the opportunity to come to the Forgotten Continent to weaken the strength of the Mu family?" Lu Xingchen said. "That's right. While cooperating with us, he is also thinking of ways to deal with the Mu family. This bastard is really a despicable person." Mu Qin gnashed his teeth. "This debt, I will find him to settle it." Lu Xingchen coldly snorted, looking at the two, and said, "Mu Qin told me that the Mu family has given birth to many fake gods in these years. Where are they now?" Mu Changfeng respectfully said, "They are guarding second uncle's remnant soul." Lu Xingchen said, "Did anything happen to second uncle's remnant soul these years?" "No." The two said. "Fortunately, there were no accidents, otherwise the two of you will not be able to atone for your sins even if you die. Immediately take me to second uncle's remnant soul." Lu Xingchen said. "Yes." The two respectfully responded, then got up, ready to take Lu Xingchen away. Seeing this, Mu Qin hurriedly grabbed Lu Xingchen's arm and asked, "Lord, what about my father? When are we going to save him? The foundation of the main tower is not as simple as you think. Even if all the fake gods of the Mu family are dispatched, they may not be able to save your father. Unless we can catch them off guard. Moreover, now that Qin Feiyang has been eyeing us covetously, the other fake gods of the Mu family should not be exposed to the world too early." Lu Xingchen said expressionlessly. "Then are we just going to ignore it?" Mu Qin's face was full of anxiety. To achieve great things, someone must be sacrificed. Lu Xingchen said, his expression incomparably cold. Chapter 1400. Mu Changfeng glanced at Mu Qin and said to Lu Xingchen telepathically, "Mu Qin's all-seeing eye is very important to the Mu family, so I think we can't ignore his father." "That's what I think too. He has already lost a sister. If he loses his father as well, I'm afraid he will be disheartened. They might even harbor grudges and resentment toward you and the Mu family." Mu Changyun thought to himself. Lu Xingchen raised his eyebrows and looked at Mu Qin. "Well, for your sake, I'll try my best to save your father." "Really?" Mu Qin's spirit was lifted. "Yes." Lu Xingchen nodded. "Thank you, Lord." Mu Qin hurriedly kowtowed and thanked him. Lu Xingchen smiled and said, "Get up. You probably haven't seen my second brother's remnant soul, right? Come with me to take a look." "Yes." Mu Qin replied and stood respectfully behind Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen nodded to Mu Changfeng and Mu Changfeng. The two of them understood and immediately led Lu Xingchen and Mu Qin out of the meeting hall, disappearing in the other direction of the city like lightning. Clouds and mist lingered there. Even if one looked closely, nothing unusual would happen. However, as soon as Lu Xingchen and the other three entered the clouds and mist, they instantly disappeared without a trace. It was as if they had evaporated into thin air. At the same time, Chief Pagoda. At the top of a giant mountain. The Chief Pagoda Master stood at the edge of the cliff and looked at the space-time gate above the Pill Pagoda. His eyes flickered. Gongsun Bei stood respectfully behind him and sighed. "I didn't expect Lord Snow Python to open a passage between the Imperial Capital and the Central Divine Kingdom. In the future, whether it's the Central Divine Kingdom or the Great Qin's Imperial Capital, I'm afraid that both will fall into chaos." His face was full of worry. The chief pagoda master said, "This is inevitable, but it's also a good thing for us." A good thing? Gongsun Bei was suspicious. Chief pagoda master said, "Let's wait for Elder Wang to return." Whoosh! Before his voice faded, Wang Su cut through the sky and landed directly on the mountain peak. "How is it?" Chief pagoda master asked. Wang Su said, "This old man saw Emperor Hong, the son of Emperor Qin, and Great Qin's imperial preceptor." What? The Qin emperor actually has a son who is still alive? Gongsun Bei was shocked. Chief pagoda master's face also sank slightly. He asked, "What is the cultivation level of this Emperor Hong?" "Very strong. According to this old man's analysis, it should be similar to Mu Changfeng." Wang Su said in a deep voice. "If that's the case, he's a heavenly semi-divinity realm cultivator." The chief pagoda master muttered. His eyes flashed as he asked, "Then what is their relationship with Qin Feiyang?" Although it's only been a short time, it's not hard to tell from their expressions that they don't have a good impression of Qin Feiyang. Wang Yimou said. Gongsun Bei said, "Wait, Emperor Hong is the son of Emperor Qin, and Qin Feiyang is also a descendant of Emperor Qin. Moreover, he received Emperor Qin's teachings. How could Emperor Hong not have a good impression of Qin Feiyang?" This old man is not sure. Wang Su shook his head. Chief pagoda master sneered, "It seems that the situation in the great Qin Empire is also very chaotic." Wang Su asked, "Then, should we send someone to the imperial capital to investigate?" "No need. Wang Zicheng and the others have already entered the imperial capital. I believe that the matter of Great Qin will soon spread to the central divine kingdom." Chief pagoda master smiled. Gongsun Bei heard this and asked calmly, "My lord, what exactly do you want to do?" "What do I want to do? Qin Feiyang has schemed against my chief pagoda time and time again. Of course, I can't just let it go like this." Chief pagoda master sneered, killing intent surging in his eyes. Sigh. When will revenge breeds revenge? Gongsun Bei sighed inwardly. However, he also knew that he couldn't control Chief Pagoda Master. That's right. This old man also discovered something. Wang Su said. What is it? Chief Pagoda Master asked. Mu Zhongyun brought a young man into the Forgotten Continent. Wang Su said. Chief Pagoda Master said, Gongsun Bei and I have been here all this time, and we also saw that young man. Is there a problem with him? Yes. And there's a big problem with him. This young man only has the cultivation of a combat emperor, but Mu Zhongyun was very respectful when he saw him. It gave this old man the feeling that he was seeing his ancestor. Wang Su said in a deep voice. What? There's actually such a thing. Chief Pagoda Master's expression changed. Gongsun Bei also had a look of disbelief. After coming back to his senses, Chief Pagoda Master immediately looked at Gongsun Bei and Wang Su and said, investigate immediately. You must find out his identity. Gongsun Bei frowned and said, he went to the Mu family. How are we going to investigate? Although he went to the Mu family, he's still a person of great Qin. I believe that there must be someone in the imperial capital who knows his identity. I have a feeling that if this person isn't eliminated as soon as possible, he will bring disaster to our Chief Pagoda sooner or later. Chief Pagoda Master said in a deep voice. Is it that exaggerated? Wang Su frowned. Gongsun Bei asked, then I'll send someone to the imperial capital to investigate now. Chief Pagoda Master nodded. Inner City. A burly man stood in front of the gate of a martial marquis's mansion. He didn't say a word, as if he was waiting for something. However, the burly man's cultivation wasn't high, he was only a 3-star war sect. There were 3 guards on both sides of the gate. They were all curiously sizing up the burly man, but at the same time, they were also on guard. Not long after. A guard walked out from inside and stood on the steps. He looked down at the burly man and said, "The Marquis has agreed to see you. Follow me." The burly man's eyes flashed as he followed the guard in. Inside the Marquis's mansion, there was a garden, a pavilion, a small bridge, and flowing water. It was quite elegant and quiet. In a corridor, a guard led the way and asked, "May I ask who you are? Why do you want to see the Marquis?" The burly man laughed, "This has nothing to do with you." Hearing this, the guard's face immediately darkened. He turned and stared at the burly man, a cold light flashing in his eyes. The burly man chuckled and said, "Did I say anything wrong? I'm looking for Marquis Shao, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with me. But if you die here, I'll report to the Marquis. It's just a lunatic who came, I don't think the Marquis will ask anything." The guard sneered. The burly man was startled for a moment, then suddenly grinned, "You have guts, you dare to threaten me." The guard was silent and only looked at him coldly. The burly man said indifferently, "Speak, what exactly do you want?" The guard looked around, and seeing that there was no one around, he said in a deep voice, "I just want to know who you are." The burly man raised his eyebrows without leaving a trace. A mere guard actually tried to inquire about his identity. This clearly didn't make sense. The burly man asked, "Did the Marquis of Shao tell you to do this?" "Don't worry about that." The guard's arrogance was very arrogant. The burly man smiled helplessly and said, "All right, my name is Nia Shan. I'm an ordinary citizen of the 3rd district." The guard said, "Why would an ordinary citizen come looking for the Marquis?" The burly man said, "I have some private matters to report to the Marquis of Shao." "What private matter?" the guard asked. "Didn't you say you only wanted to know my identity? Now that I've told you my identity, why are you still asking so much?" The burly man frowned, obviously losing his patience. The guard's gaze turned cold as he shouted, "If I tell you to speak, then speak. What nonsense are you spouting?" The burly man sized up the guard. The guard also stared at the burly man sinisterly, but gradually, the guard's expression became somewhat unnatural, as if he had done something wrong, giving people a feeling of guilt. The burly man's eyes flashed. A guard asking all sorts of questions, no matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem normal. Schwa! Suddenly, the burly man waved his hand, and the guard felt his body lighten. In the next moment, he appeared in an unfamiliar stone room. Moreover, this stone room was completely sealed off. "Where is this?" The guard looked around in bewilderment. Suddenly, he saw a group of people and berserk beasts in the stone room. Among them, the most eye-catching ones were a fatso and a wolf. "How could it be you?" The guard looked at Fatso and the wolf, his face full of panic. Fatso said, "Is it strange? This used to be our territory. Is this place, it's the castle." The guard's face changed greatly, turning his head to look at the burly man, his face full of fear, exclaiming, "You are Qin Feiyang." "Yes, it's me." The burly man nodded. The guard immediately knelt on the ground, begging, "Young Master Qin, I have eyes but failed to see. Please be magnanimous and forgive me this time." Qin Feiyang laughed, "If you have eyes but failed to see, I will definitely not bother with you." "What do you mean?" The guard panicked and asked nervously. "Don't you understand? Then let me tell you. Although I have changed my appearance and you can't recognize me, but your Marquis has already agreed to see me, so I am your Marquis guest. But you actually asked me again and again about my identity, and even forced me to tell you the purpose of looking for your Marquis. Tell me, which guard of the House of Marquis has such guts? The most important thing is that when you asked me these questions, you still chose a place where there was no third person. Doesn't this show that there are many problems with you?" Qin Feiyang laughed. The guard's face was gloomy. "Just based on these, you can actually see that there is a problem with me. Qin Feiyang is indeed Qin Feiyang. Since you have already seen through me, then go to hell. Suddenly. The guard laughed sinisterly and suddenly jumped up. His aura erupted as he punched towards Qin Feiyang's mind. What? 9-star War Emperor. Fatso and the others' expressions changed. Unexpectedly, this person was actually hiding his cultivation. Wolf King shouted, "Little Qin Z, quickly throw him out." If the Thunder Leopard, the three beasts, and Wang Yangfeng were still here, even if this person was a 9-star War Emperor, they would not be moved. But now, everyone went to the ancient pagoda. With their current strength, they could not stop this person at all. When I kill you, none of the people and beasts around you will live. The guard laughed sinisterly. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Qin Feiyang smiled contemptuously and waved his hand. The guard immediately disappeared. At this time. Only then did everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Fatso asked, "Where did you send him? Have you seen any guard of the House of Marquis with a 9-star War Emperor cultivation?" "So of course, I sent him to the ancient pagoda and interrogated him clearly," Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. Fatso and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. What kind of place was the ancient pagoda? That was Qin Feiyang's current headquarters, and all the experts around him were inside. It was no exaggeration to say that whoever wanted to enter the ancient pagoda was equivalent to entering a dragon's pool and tiger's den. Chapter 1401. At the same time. An ancient tower. Above a mountain range. A guard appeared out of thin air. Looking at the unfamiliar landscape, his face was filled with bewilderment. Where was this? What was going on? Where was Qin Feiyang? Roar. Suddenly. A series of deafening beast roars sounded. The guard was shocked. He lowered his head and scanned the mountains and rivers below. His eyes were suddenly filled with horror. He saw more than a dozen ferocious-looking beasts flying out of the jungle and standing in midair. They raised their heads and looked at him curiously. The aura that these beasts exuded was that of a 9-star combat emperor. Why are there so many 9-star emperor beasts? The guard's face was dull. Below. A beast looked at the guard and asked suspiciously, "Is he also Boss Qin's guest?" "He doesn't look like one. He looks shifty-eyed." Another beast shook its head, looking charmingly naive. "This is your fault. How can you judge a book by its cover? Although he looks ugly, what if he has a beautiful heart?" Another beast said. "Keep bragging. In this world, other than Boss Qin, which human isn't a cunning old fox?" "Wrong, wrong. Boss Qin is also very cunning, but his cunning is targeted at outsiders." "Stop talking. This guy is definitely not a good person. Let's be careful." The group of ferocious beasts looked at the guards warily while commenting. And they didn't transmit their voice. The guards heard every single word. "I look shifty-eyed." His face suddenly darkened and he shouted, "You're courting death." "Ah." The group of beasts was stunned. Boom. The guard took a step forward, and a terrifying aura rushed towards the group of ferocious beasts with an overwhelming force. "Are you sure you want to make a move?" A beast looked at him strangely. "Why? Do you think you have the advantage because you have more people?" The guard looked disdainful. Although these beasts were all 9-star combat emperors, he was confident that he could kill this group of beasts with his perfect battle art. Hee hee. The group of beasts immediately laughed. "What's the situation?" Seeing this, the guard was surprised. Suddenly. One of the beasts roared, "Brothers, someone wants to bully us. Come and help." His voice was like a great bell, resounding in all directions. Roar. Immediately. Deafening roars rang out one after another from the surrounding mountains and rivers. What? The guard scanned the surrounding mountains and rivers in shock. Who dares to bully us? Do you want to die? Humph. This emperor wants to see who has the guts to come to our territory and cause trouble. Following a series of furious roars, several ferocious beasts dashed out from the mountain. Some were as big as mountains, while others were as small as boulders. This, the guard was dumbfounded. 5, 10, 20, 40, how could there be so many 9-star monarch beasts? And it wasn't over yet. There were even more 9-star monarch beasts flying over from the void in the distance. They were densely packed and majestic. It was simply shocking. What did you just say? We didn't hear you clearly. Say it again. Don't worry, we won't beat you up. Those ferocious beasts that appeared at the beginning stared at the guard playfully at this moment. The guard stammered and his face turned pale. Say it. What's wrong? Are you scared? Where's your arrogance just now? Facing the clamoring of a group of ferocious beasts, the guard didn't dare to say a word. His heart was drowned in deep fear. The other ferocious beasts flew over and directly surrounded the guard without saying a word. Their eyes were filled with astonishing ferocity. We have the numbers. What can you do? Come. We are courting death. Come and kill us if you have the guts. Why? Have you lost your temper? If you don't do it, then we will. Don't blame us for being too heavy-handed later. Brothers, beat him up. A group of ferocious beasts suddenly swarmed forward. No, the guard howled in despair. In less than 3 breaths, his sea of chi was destroyed by a group of ferocious beasts. His entire body was dripping with blood and he was in a sorry state. Don't beat him up, don't beat him up. If he's really Boss Qin's guest and we beat him to death, Boss Qin will be angry. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, the dozen or so ferocious beasts that appeared first repeatedly shouted. Damn! You guys didn't even figure out whether he's Boss Qin's guest or enemy, and you guys called us here to beat him up. Aren't you just trying to harm us? The beasts that came later immediately glared at the dozen or so ferocious beasts. Well, the dozen or so beasts were quite embarrassed. Suddenly, a burly man appeared in the sky. It was Qin Feiyang. When he saw the guard in a sorry state, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he looked at the group of beasts and said, You guys did this? Who are you? The group of beasts looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Because Qin Feiyang had changed his appearance, they didn't recognize him. It's me. Qin Feiyang took a facial restoration pill and restored his true appearance. So it's Boss Qin. The group of beasts suddenly realized. Boss Qin, is this person your guest or your enemy? One of the ferocious beasts asked nervously. The other beasts were also very nervous. Guest? Enemy? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at the guard and the group of beasts suspiciously and suddenly understood. Cough. He coughed and said with a straight face, He's my guest. How can you be so rude to him? Ah. Your guest. Sorry, it's our fault. The group of beasts suddenly lowered their heads. Their eyes were full of panic, like a group of children who had done something wrong. Qin Feiyang continued with a straight face, beating my guest like this, you guys are too bold. Tell me, how should I punish you now? Don't. We didn't do it on purpose. Yeah. It's not our fault. He's too arrogant. As soon as he came in, he said he wanted to kill us. We can't just sit and wait for death. The group of beasts felt wronged. Puff. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. Boss Qin, what are you laughing at? The beasts looked at him suspiciously. You know what? You guys are too cute right now. I'm just teasing you guys. This person is not my guest. Qin Feiyang laughed. Teasing us? The group of beasts looked at each other. Boss Qin, how can you do this? Don't you know that this will scare us to death? When they came back to their senses, the beasts immediately stared at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction and kept complaining. Qin Feiyang shook his head and waved his hand. Okay, it's my fault. I apologize to you guys. Now get out of the way, I have something to ask him. You have to compensate us for the mental damage. Yes, our little sweetheart was almost scared to death by you just now. All the beasts groaned in agreement. Are you guys so timid? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. The guard whose cultivation was crippled was imprisoned in the void by a beast. At this moment, he was staring at Qin Feiyang with resentment. Qin Feiyang walked to the front of the guard, shook his head, and smiled. You're really bold. You actually dare to be arrogant here. Don't talk nonsense. If you want to kill me, then do it. The guard laughed sinisterly. You want to die? It's not up to you now. Qin Feiyang chuckled, took out a facial restoration pill, and directly stuffed it into the guard's mouth. The guard's face and figure suddenly distorted. Soon, a rough face appeared in Qin Feiyang's sight. Qin Feiyang looked at the guard. This was a burly man. He was more than 9 meters tall, like a small giant. The muscles all over his body bulged like dragons, full of explosive power. There's indeed a problem. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light, his hands formed a seal, and the enslavement seal appeared, instantly entering the burly man's head. Ah, the burly man howled miserably, incomparably mournful. After controlling the burly man, Qin Feiyang asked, Tell me, who are you? Pretending to be the guard of Marquis Xiao, what is your purpose? The burly man laughed sinisterly. I won't say it even if you beat me to death. So unafraid of death? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Originally, he thought that he could get the answer from the burly man's inner thoughts, but he didn't expect that this person was now bent on seeking death. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang raised his arm, reached into the burly man's arms, and took out a Qianquan bag. The burly man sneered, Don't waste your time, there's nothing inside. Qin Feiyang didn't believe it, and lowered his head to check carefully. In the end, in this person's Qianquan bag, other than some daily necessities, medicinal herbs, pills, and gold coins, he really couldn't find anything that could prove this person's identity. Qin Feiyang was silent for a moment, and a light suddenly flashed past his eyes. He raised his head to look at the burly man, and laughed. Actually, your identity is not difficult to guess. Then why don't you guess? The burly man looked at him with a face full of ridicule. The 9-star war emperor of the Great Qin are basically gathered in the Imperial Palace, War God Shrine, Law Enforcement Hall, and the various Martial Marquis Palace. And you pretended to be a guard and lurked beside the Marquis of Xiao. You should be monitoring him. But as far as I know, the Marquis of Xiao is an upright and low-key person. He rarely has any grudges with others, so the various Martial Marquis Palace can be excluded. Then only the Imperial Palace, War God Shrine, and Law Enforcement Hall are left. I remember that in the Central Plaza, because of the matter between me and the Emperor, the Marquis of Xiao repeatedly raised objections to the Imperial Tutor. I think that with the Imperial Tutor's personality, he will definitely hold a grudge. In addition, the Imperial Palace, War God Shrine, and Law Enforcement Hall are all under the control of the Imperial Tutor. Therefore, I speculate that you are one of the Imperial Tutor's men. Qin Feiyang said, his eyes shining. The burly man's gaze trembled, and there was a trace of disbelief on his face. Looking at your expression, it seems that my guess is not wrong. Since you are one of the Imperial Tutor's men, then it won't be difficult to find out your identity. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, took out the image crystal, and surged with battle chi. Buzz! Not long later, Yan Wei's shadow appeared. The burly man looked at Yan Wei, his face suddenly changed, and instinctively cried out, "How could it be him? You know Yan Wei? Then it seems that he should be from the law enforcement hall." Qin Feiyang muttered. Chapter 1402. Qin Feiyang could see Yan Wei's worry and laughed. "Don't worry, he is already my prisoner. Even if he knows that you are my man, he will not be able to tell the imperial tutor." "Prisoner?" Yan Wei was slightly startled, then heaved a sigh of relief. "Qin Feiyang's men?" The burly man was also stunned, and then shouted at Yan Wei, "You are actually a spy that Qin Feiyang placed by Sir's side, you really deserve to die." Yan Wei laughed disdainfully, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Where did you catch him?" Qin Feiyang said, "Marquis Xiao's house." "I never thought that the imperial tutor would really make a move on the Marquis of Xiao." Yan Wei frowned. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. When the young prince inherited the throne, the Marquis of Xiao continuously raised objections. This made the imperial tutor very dissatisfied, and he even personally told me that he wanted to deal with the Marquis of Xiao. I originally thought that he would leave this matter to me, but I didn't expect that this person would go. This person is called Guiyong, and he is also one of the imperial tutor's most trusted aides. Yan Wei explained. After hearing this, the corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted slightly. He did not expect that when he came to find the Marquis of Xiao, he would actually capture one of the imperial tutor's trusted aides. This was truly an unexpected surprise. It was no wonder that this person's bones were so hard, and he would rather die than submit. Qin Feiyang waved his hand at Yan Wei and said, "All right, you can go back to work." "All right." Yan Wei nodded, looked at Guiyong, and then looked at Qin Feiyang worriedly, and said, "This person, we must not let him return to the imperial tutor's side alive." "You don't have to worry at all." Qin Feiyang laughed, and with that, he turned off the image crystal, and then appeared in the castle with Guiyong in hand. "Boss, since the imperial tutor wants to deal with the Marquis of Xiao, then why didn't he directly get rid of the Marquis of Xiao? Isn't that a little redundant?" As soon as Qin Feiyang appeared, Fatso asked suspiciously. "Redundant?" The various martial marquises have the protection of their ancestors. No matter how bold the imperial advisor is, he would not dare to kill a martial marquis. Qin Feiyang said. "Then we can assassinate him. With the imperial preceptor's ability, it should be very easy." Fatso said. "It is very easy." However, when the Marquis of Xiao raised his objection in the central square, all the civil and military officials saw it. Don't look at those civil and military officials. They usually seem weak, incompetent, and timid, but they are all very shrewd. They all know in their hearts that the Marquis of Xiao had angered the imperial advisor. If the Marquis of Xiao is assassinated at this time, then there will definitely be people who suspect the imperial advisor. At this critical juncture, the imperial preceptor does not dare to take this risk. Qin Feiyang sneered. "I see." Fatso was suddenly enlightened. He looked at Guiyong and asked, "Then how should we deal with this person? He's still useful. Keep an eye on him. Don't let him find a chance to commit suicide." Qin Feiyang instructed before changing back to his previous appearance. Concealing his cultivation, he appeared in the corridor of the Marquis's mansion. He looked around and walked towards the end of the corridor. Not long after, a garden entered his line of sight. In the garden, there was a 17 or 18-year-old woman. She wore a light green dress and had long black hair that draped over her shoulders. She had an exquisite figure and looked youthful and beautiful. The woman was squatting in a field of flowers, fiddling with a few wild flowers. At the side, there were two maids accompanying him. Qin Feiyang looked at the woman and entered the garden. "Who are you?" Seeing Qin Feiyang, the two maids immediately became vigilant. The green-clothed woman also raised her head to look at Qin Feiyang, her bright eyes carrying a trace of suspicion and curiosity. Qin Feiyang walked to the front of the three of them, looked at the green-clothed woman, cupped his hands and smiled. I am Ye Shan, I have something to discuss with the Marquis of Shao, I hope Miss can guide me. To see father? The green-clothed woman was taken aback. She stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang. She asked suspiciously, is there no one to lead the way for you? So it's the daughter of the Marquis of Shao. Qin Feiyang muttered and laughed. Just now, there was a guard leading the way, but halfway there, he seemed to have something to do and left. He pointed me in the direction and told me to look for him, but this Marquis's mansion is too big, I really don't know where to find the Marquis of Shao. They actually dare to neglect father's guests. These guards are getting more and more presumptuous. Hearing this, the green-clothed woman's delicate face was filled with anger. She then looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed, it just so happens that I'm going to pay my respects to father. Why don't you come with me? That's exactly what I want. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed and laughed. Please. The green-clothed woman extended her hand. Miss, please go first. Qin Feiyang said. The green-clothed woman smiled and turned around to walk towards a lake in the distance. The two maids glanced at Qin Feiyang and hurriedly followed. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and looked behind him unhurriedly. Looking at the backs of the two maids, his eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. Previously, when the two maids looked at him, he sensed a flash of killing intent, which disappeared in an instant. Although this killing intent was not obvious and disappeared very quickly, but with his keen perception, he was completely sure that this killing intent had indeed appeared. However, because the time was too short, he did not clearly distinguish which maid this killing intent came from. This Marquis's mansion is really interesting. Qin Feiyang looked away from the two maids and scanned the surroundings. A playful look gradually crept up on his face. Not long after, Qin Feiyang followed the green-clothed woman to the lake. The lake was about half a mile long. The clear lake water was rippling in the wind. It was very quiet here. The surrounding vegetation was lush and full of vitality. On the east side of the lake, a courtyard quietly sat by the lake. At this moment, outside the courtyard, a middle-aged man in a purple robe was sitting alone at a stone table. He was drinking tea while looking at the surface of the lake. He looked like he had a lot on his mind. That's right. This person was Marquis Shao. Father is over there. The green-clothed woman said to Qin Feiyang and trotted towards the middle-aged man. At the same time, she exclaimed, Father, the green-clothed woman's voice awakened Marquis Shao. He raised his head to look at the green-clothed woman. His weather-beaten face suddenly revealed a trace of doting. However, when he looked at Qin Feiyang, there was a trace of suspicion in his eyes. Soon, the four of them walked in front of Marquis Shao. Greetings, Marquis. The two maids bowed. Greetings, Marquis Shao. Qin Feiyang also cupped his hands and bowed. Yes. Marquis Shao nodded, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Are you the person that the guard mentioned before? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Marquis Shao asked, Why are you looking for this Marquis? This, Qin Feiyang glanced at the green-clothed woman and the two maids. As a Marquis, how could he not understand what Qin Feiyang meant? He said indifferently, There are no outsiders here. If you have something to say, just say it. That's not necessarily true. Qin Feiyang said meaningfully. Marquis Shao raised his eyebrows and pointed to the green-clothed woman. She is this Marquis's daughter, you still don't believe me? Qin Feiyang said, Marquis's daughter, naturally there's no problem. What do you mean? According to what you said, there's a problem with my two maids. Don't be too presumptuous. They grew up with me. Although they are my maids on the surface, we are actually like sisters. The green-clothed woman said angrily. Kai, don't be rude. Marquis Xiao berated, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, if you have something to say, then say it quickly, otherwise this Marquis will give the order to leave. Sigh. Marquis is in danger right now, but he doesn't know about it at all. How sad. Qin Feiyang sighed. Impudent. Marquis Xiao suddenly stood up, and a terrifying emperor's might pressed towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, he suddenly turned around and rushed towards the two maids. What are you doing? The two maids immediately retreated in fear. The green-clothed woman's expression also changed, and she shouted, Father, quickly stop him. Marquis Xiao was furious, and slapped towards Qin Feiyang's back. But Qin Feiyang ignored him, stared at the two maids, and muttered, let's see how long you can hide. Boom! The aura of a 5-star war emperor suddenly erupted. What? So strong? Marquis Xiao was shocked, and immediately used his full strength, the battle qi in his palm surging out. At the same time, Qin Feiyang had already arrived in front of the two maids, raised his hands, and grabbed towards the two maids' heads. His 10 fingers were bent like 2 eagle claws. Red sword qi lingered around, emitting a terrifying sharpness. The two maids' faces turned pale, but they did not retaliate. Qin Feiyang looked at them and laughed sinisterly, if you continue to endure, you will only die. Before he could finish, one of the maids' eyes flashed with a hint of struggle, and then a terrifying emperor's might rushed out from her body. It was the 9-star war emperor. How is this possible? The other maid, the green-clothed woman, looked at the maid in shock. Marquis Xiao also braked and stopped behind Qin Feiyang, his face full of shock and bewilderment. The maid glanced at Marquis Xiao, stared at Qin Feiyang sinisterly, and said, you dare to destroy my plan, no matter who you are. You must die today. Finished. She raised her arm like lightning and slapped Qin Feiyang's chest with her palm. With just you? Qin Feiyang laughed disdainfully and retreated a step. At the same time, with a thought, Thunder Leopard and the other two beasts appeared in front of him out of thin air. What's going on? Facing this sudden turn of events, Thunder Leopard and the other two beasts were stunned. It's them. Could this person be, at the same time? Seeing Thunder Leopard and the other two beasts appear, Marquis Xiao and the maid's expressions changed. They immediately looked at Qin Feiyang, and a terrifying name appeared in their minds at the same time. Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shouted, stop talking nonsense, quickly cripple her. Cripple who? Thunder Leopard and the other two beasts turned to look at Qin Feiyang with dumbfounded expressions. They couldn't hear anything from the inside of the ancient pagoda, so even now, they still hadn't figured out what was going on. Her. Qin Feiyang pointed at the maid. Thunder Leopard and the other two beasts looked at the maid, their eyes suddenly bursting with an astonishing ferocious light. Although he didn't know what was going on, the person that Qin Feiyang wanted to kill was definitely an enemy. Seeing this, the maid turned around and fled. Ha! Thunder Leopard grinned, turned into the power of thunder, and instantly caught up to the maid, slapping her back with his claws. Ah! The maid let out a blood-curdling scream and fell into the lake below, splashing up huge waves. Thunder Leopard stood in the air, looked at the lake with contempt, and said, second brother, third brother, I'll leave the rest to you guys. Let's end this quickly. Qin Feiyang added. Don't worry. We don't need 5 breaths of time to end the battle. After all, we are from the Sea of Samsara. Fighting in the water is our forte. Chapter 1403. Boom. Crash. At the bottom of the lake, a series of earth-shattering sounds rang out. On the surface of the lake, waves covered the sky. The entire house of Marquis was trembling violently. Cracks spread out in all directions with the lake as the center. Qin Feiyang, tell your 2 subordinates to hurry up, or else the house of Marquis will be destroyed." Seeing this scene, Marquis Xiao was burning with anxiety. But before he could finish his sentence, the battle fluctuations subsided. Dong! The seal and leopard brought a bloody woman out of the lake and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. "I said it won't take 5 breaths, so it won't take 5 breaths. Done." Seahorse said with a triumphant smile. "Very good." Qin Feiyang nodded. Whoosh! At this moment, accompanied by the sound of something tearing through the air, the guards of the house of Marquis rushed over. Qin Feiyang looked at Marquis Xiao and said indifferently, "You should know what to say, right?" Marquis Xiao took a deep look at Qin Feiyang and nodded, "I know." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and disappeared without a trace with the 3 beasts and the woman. Not long after, the guards of the house of Marquis rushed over. When they saw the lake that was filled with cracks, their expressions changed drastically. A guard captain asked, "Marquis, what's going on?" Marquis Xiao laughed. "Just now, this Marquis was teaching Kai how to cultivate and accidentally made some noise." "Everyone, don't panic." Teaching the young miss to cultivate? The group of guards were stunned. The guard captain smiled bitterly. "Marquis, you don't have to make such a big commotion when teaching the young miss to cultivate, do you? We thought that a strong enemy had come to invade. I've made you worry. If there's nothing else, you can leave first." Marquis Xiao smiled apologetically and waved his hand. "Yes." The captain of the guards respectfully replied and left with a group of guards. But just as the group of guards left, another figure descended above the lake. Marquis Xiao raised his head and his expression immediately changed. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Imperial Advisor." "That's right. The person who came was the Imperial Advisor. He came really fast." Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. Then, he steered the ancient castle and flew away silently. The Imperial Advisor glanced at the lake, looked at the Marquis of Xiao and said with a frown, "Just now, I heard a very strong battle fluctuation coming from you. What happened?" Marquis Xiao said, "Thank you for your concern, Lord State Preceptor. I was just teaching my daughter cultivation just now. There's nothing else." "Really?" The Grand Master looked at the green-clothed woman. The woman in green nodded. She looked slightly flustered. This was an instinctive fear of the Imperial Preceptor. The Imperial Preceptor sized up the 2 of them and suddenly released his divine sense. It surged out in all directions and instantly enveloped the entire Marquis residence. Soon, his face suddenly darkened. Unexpectedly, he did not sense Guyong's aura at all. Could it be that the shockwaves from the previous battle were related to Guyong and his companion? However, he did not say anything. He coldly glanced at the Marquis of Xiao Wu, then opened the teleportation gate and left. Only when the teleportation gate dissipated did Marquis Xiao let out a sigh of relief. The woman in green asked, "Father, isn't this Imperial Preceptor too concerned about us?" Marquis Xiao said in a deep voice, "It's not as simple as you think." "What do you mean?" The green-clothed woman was suspicious. That maid's identity had just been exposed by Qin Feiyang, and the Imperial Preceptor had already arrived at our Marquis residence. "What does this mean?" "It means that the Imperial Preceptor has been paying attention to the movements of our Marquis residence. I guess that maid is most likely a spy that the Imperial Preceptor planted by your side," Marquis Xiao said. "What? Why would he do that?" The green-clothed woman's expression changed. The remaining maidservant was also shocked. "Why else? It must be because I repeatedly raised objections to Emperor Hong in the central square and angered him." Marquis Xiao coldly snorted. "This old thing is too much." The green-clothed woman's face was filled with anger, and her bright eyes were filled with disgust. His Majesty Hao Tian is young and ignorant, and is unable to handle state affairs. As for Emperor Hong, he lives in seclusion and has no intention of managing these things. Right now, the person controlling the power behind the scenes is the Imperial Preceptor. In the past, when His Majesty was still alive, the Imperial Preceptor dared to deceive everyone, let alone now. Marquis Xiao sighed deeply. He couldn't help but worry about the future of the great Qin. To be able to hear your words, it's not a waste of my trip. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's voice sounded in the air. Following closely, Qin Feiyang and the three thunder leopard beasts appeared beside Marquis Xiao. Marquis Xiao was startled, and asked, "Why didn't the Imperial Preceptor notice you?" Qin Feiyang said, "As soon as I saw the Imperial Preceptor appear, I left." Marquis Xiao said, "You knew that he would use his divine sense to find you?" "He's not looking for me, he's looking for his lackeys." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Guiyong and the maid appeared in front of Marquis Xiao. Both of them had their chi-seas crippled and were dripping with blood. Marquis Xiao sized up Guiyong and asked in surprise, "Who is he?" Qin Feiyang said, "He is the guard who came to report to you before." "How could this be?" Marquis Xiao's face was lifeless. "When he brought me to see you, he asked me about my identity and my purpose for coming to find you. At that time, I felt that there was something wrong with him. As expected, when I crippled his chi-si and interrogated him, he was one of the Imperial Preceptor's men." Qin Feiyang said. "Damn it!" When Marquis Xiao heard this, he flew into a rage. The green-clothed woman asked, "Then how did you know that there was a problem with this maid?" Qin Feiyang asked, "Do you remember the first time we met?" The green-clothed woman nodded. "It was at that time that a trace of killing intent appeared when she looked at me. But at that time, she concealed it very well. I was unable to determine which maid this killing intent came from. However, if there is killing intent, it means that there must be a problem with one of them." Qin Feiyang said. "Killing intent?" The green-clothed woman was stunned. "Then why didn't I sense it at that time?" Ugh. Qin Feiyang was stunned, not knowing how to answer. Marquis Xiao said helplessly, Don't mess around. You and Qin Feiyang are not on the same level at all. What he can sense, even father might not be able to sense, let alone you." The green-clothed woman smiled embarrassedly and then stared at Qin Feiyang without blinking. Her moving eyes were filled with curiosity. What kind of man was this? Who? Marquis Xiao took a deep breath and bowed to Qin Feiyang, saying, "Thank you. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have known that there were two biting dogs hiding by my side." Marquis Xiao was also a smart person. After knowing the identities of the two, he knew the intentions of the Imperial Preceptor. Qin Feiyang had saved his life. No. He had saved his entire house of Marquis. It's just a small matter. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly as he glanced at the other maid. Then what should we do with them now? Marquis Xiao glanced at Guiyong and the other two, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "You can do whatever you want. These damn things should be thrown into the lake to feed the fish." Killing intent flashed in Marquis Xiao's eyes. He reached out with both hands and directly twisted Guiyong and the other two's necks. Then, like throwing trash, he threw them into the lake. Qin Feiyang glanced at the lake, then looked at the other maid and said, "She can't be left alive either." The maid's expression changed. She hurriedly ran behind the green-clothed woman and looked at Qin Feiyang in fear. "Don't be afraid, I will protect you." The green-clothed woman comforted her and glared at Qin Feiyang. "Why?" Marquis Xiao was also puzzled. "The Imperial Preceptor has already set his eyes on you. The Imperial Preceptor must have already discovered the deaths of Guiyong and the other two. So, he will definitely think of a way to investigate this matter." Qin Feiyang said. Marquis Xiao frowned. He looked at the maid and said, "You mean, the Imperial Preceptor will make a move on her?" "That's right. Until the last moment, the imperial preceptor would not dare to make a move on you and your daughter. Then, she is the only one left, because she is the only one who knows. Qin Feiyang said. The green-clothed woman said, don't worry, she won't say anything. Yes, yes, yes. I will definitely keep my mouth shut. The maid also nodded her head. Qin Feiyang looked at the maid and said, when you fall into the hands of the imperial preceptor, it will not be up to you to decide whether you want to say it or not. Next. He then looked at Marquis Xiao and said, you are also clear about my current situation. If the imperial preceptor knows that I came to find you, then even if you have 100 mouths, you won't be able to clear your suspicions. Marquis Xiao's heart sank. What Qin Feiyang said was not without reason. With the imperial preceptor's methods, if he knew that Qin Feiyang had come, he would definitely accuse him of colluding with Qin Feiyang and betraying him. At that time, no one would be able to save him, and no one would be able to save his daughter. With that thought in mind, Marquis Xiao looked at the maid, his eyes filled with killing intent. The maid panicked and grabbed the green-clothed woman's arm, saying, Miss, save me, I don't want to die. The green-clothed woman looked at Marquis Xiao and said anxiously, Father, I promise you, she definitely won't speak carelessly. Kai, you are still too naive. Even if we don't kill her now, she will die at the hands of the imperial preceptor sooner or later. You can save her from us now, but in the future, can you save her from the imperial preceptor? Marquis Xiao sighed. The green-clothed woman stood in front of the maid and shook her head, no matter what, I won't allow you to kill her. Marquis Xiao became angry and shouted, impudent, retreat immediately. No. The green-clothed woman shook her head. Marquis Xiao looked at the green-clothed woman, and a trace of helplessness gradually crept up in his eyes. He looked at Qin Feiyang for help. Qin Feiyang's brows also tightened. A moment later, Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly, fine, I'll send her to a place where no one can hurt her. Where? Marquis Xiao asked. Inside my spatial divine object. But before we go, just in case, I still have to check her identity. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he took out a pill and threw it to the maid. For now, I can only trouble you. Marquis Xiao smiled apologetically at Qin Feiyang, looked at the maid and said, hurry up and take the pill, thank you, young Master Qin. Thank you, young Master Qin, for not killing me. The maid hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. She then grabbed the pill and put it into her mouth. Finally, the maid's face didn't change in the slightest. Chapter 1404. Buzz. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to send the maid to the ancient pagoda, Marquis Xiao suddenly extended his hand and said, wait. What is it? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Marquis Xiao pondered for a moment, then raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang, cupped his hands and said, I have a presumptuous request. Speak. Qin Feiyang said. Marquis Xiao said, I want Kai, to go to your spacetime divine object. Qin Feiyang frowned, you have to be clear, this is not a shelter. I know. But now, the imperial tutor has his eyes on us. What if he makes a move on Kai, I only have one daughter. I don't want anything to happen to her, so I'm begging you. Marquis Xiao bowed. Qin Feiyang said, then aren't you afraid that I will harm your daughter? You should know that I am not a good person either. Marquis Xiao laughed, although you are indeed not a good person, but in front of righteousness, I still trust you. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, then nodded, all right, I will agree to your request, but you have to agree to one of my requests. This can be considered a fair trade. Speak. Marquis Xiao said. Qin Feiyang said, I need you to convince the other Marquis to stand with me at the critical moment. Marquis Xiao was stunned and frowned, I'm afraid this is not an easy task. After all, everyone thinks that you killed His Majesty. Do you believe it? Qin Feiyang asked. Marquis Xiao didn't know how to answer. Qin Feiyang said, I can tell you clearly that the emperor is not dead, nor is he imprisoned by me. Old man Qin and the commander of the Kirin army are also insiders. This, Marquis Xiao was dumbstruck. I'll be more straightforward. Old man Qin and the commander of the Kirin army are standing with me because they believe that I won't do anything to harm the great Qin Empire. Of course, I won't force you. It's your freedom to believe it or not. Qin Feiyang said lightly. Marquis Xiao's eyes revealed a look of struggle. A moment later, he nodded fiercely and said, All right, I believe you. I will try my best to convince the other martial marquis. Actually, it's not difficult to convince them. The only thing you have to be careful of is that among these martial marquis, there might be a few who have already joined the imperial advisor. Qin Feiyang said. I understand. Marquis Xiao nodded. Qin Feiyang said, All right then. Now take out the image crystal and establish a contract bridge so that we can communicate more easily in the future. After establishing the contract bridge, Qin Feiyang disappeared with the thunder leopard, the three beasts, and the green-clothed woman. Alas! Great Qin's future is worrying. Marquis Xiao walked to the lakeside and looked at the sky. He let out a long sigh, and there was a hint of worry between his brows. The ancient pagoda. Above the herb field. This is your spatial divine object. It's too big. And this herb field, oh my God, how many medicinal herbs are there? Looking at the boundless mountains and rivers around them, as well as the boundless herb field, the two women in green were shocked. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at the center of the herb field. In the center of the herb field, beside the tree of good fortune, there was now a courtyard. The courtyard was about 100 feet long. Although it was not big and was very simple, it was very clean and neat. At this moment, the old man, Luo Qianxue, Lu Ji, and Yan Nanshan were sitting around a stone table in the courtyard. The old man and Yan Nanshan sat opposite each other, playing chess and drinking tea. Lu Ji and Luo Qianxue sat at the side and watched. From time to time, they would laugh. Now, the four of them were equivalent to the owners of this herb field. They had built a courtyard here because they planned to stay here for a long time. Firstly, this place was very leisurely, quiet, and suitable for retirement. Secondly, it was convenient to manage the herb field so that Qin Feiyang would have no worries. Although their cultivation was not high, the people and beasts in the ancient pagoda knew about their relationship with Qin Feiyang, so they were very respectful. Moreover, whether it was Yan Wei's clansmen or Wang Yangfeng's clansmen, they had to get their permission in advance to pick medicinal herbs. Even the unruly nine-star emperor beasts like the thunder leopard, the seahorse, and the seal were quite polite to the four of them. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang stepped out and landed beside the four of them. He smiled and said, You're living a good life. I can't help but envy you. Every time he saw the old man and the other three, he would feel a sense of closeness and belonging in his heart. You're here. The four of them put down what they were doing and raised their heads to look at Qin Feiyang. Their faces were full of doting. As for Qin Feiyang, they also treated him like their own child. Qin Feiyang nodded. Who are they? Looking at the green-clothed woman and the maid who followed them, the four of them couldn't help but ask curiously. Qin Feiyang said, She is the daughter of the Marquis of Xiao, and the other is her maid. Yan Nanshan asked suspiciously, What is the daughter of the Marquis of Xiao doing here? Taking refuge. The Marquis of Xiao has already been targeted by the imperial tutor, so she came to the ancient pagoda to hide. Qin Feiyang laughed. So it's like that. The four of them suddenly realized. The green-clothed woman walked in front of the four of them and bowed obediently. Junior Xiao Kaier greets the four seniors. The old man smiled and said, Girl, since you're here, your family. Don't be too reserved. All right. Seeing that the four of them were so amiable, Shao Kaier immediately let go and ran behind the old man with a smile, massaging his back and shoulders. The old man stared blankly for a moment before looking at Qin Feiyang with a face full of enjoyment. He chuckled and said, "This old man likes this little girl. Let her stay here and chat with us." Yan Nanshan, Luo Qianxue, and Lu Ji all nodded in agreement. "As long as you're happy," Qin Feiyang said. "It's so lively." Suddenly, a burst of laughter sounded out. Old Man Qin, Wang Yangfeng and the others flew through the air and landed in the courtyard. "Greetings, Old Man Qin." The four of them immediately stood up and bowed. Old Man Qin hurriedly waved his hands. No, 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 you are all Qin Feiyang's elders, this old man really can't accept it. Keep pretending, keep pretending." Lei Bao and the other two beasts looked at him with disdain. "What this old man said is the truth, why don't you believe me? Furthermore, this old man is living under someone else's roof, so I can't pretend even if I want to." Old Man Qin glanced at Qin Feiyang, shook his head and sighed, feeling a sense of loneliness like a tiger being bullied by a dog. What else could Qin Feiyang say about this? There was nothing he could say. He could only smile helplessly. In any case, as long as these old people were happy, it was fine. Old Man Qin is actually here too. Shao Kaier and the maid looked at each other and hurriedly went forward to bow. "You're here too. It seems that your father is still a reasonable person." Old Man Qin glanced at the maid and smiled at Shao Kaier. Shao Kaier said, "Junior doesn't dare to guarantee anything else, but Junior dares to guarantee father's loyalty to Great Qin with my life. This old man doesn't dare to believe your words, but this old man believes in Qin Feiyang's vision and judgment. Since he can bring you here, it means that there is no problem with Marquis Shao." Old Man Qin said. Shao Kaier glanced at Qin Feiyang. What kind of charm did this man have? Even Old Man Qin trusted him so much. Next, everyone gathered together and chatted happily. Lei Bao rolled his eyes and leaned over to Wang Yangfeng's side, whispering, "Old Wang, did you mention to him about opening the gate of potential?" The seal and seahorse also immediately went up. "Yes." Wang Yangfeng nodded. "Then how did he answer?" Lei Bao asked, looking rather nervous. "Sigh." Wang Yangfeng sighed. The others also lowered their heads, looking disappointed. Seeing this, Lei Bao and the other two beasts also lowered their heads, their hearts filled with disappointment. But they didn't notice that when they lowered their heads, Wang Yangfeng and the others instantly had a look of ridicule on their faces. This bastard old man is too much. Isn't that so? Now he's eating our food and living in our place. He's not even willing to help us with a small favor. No, no, I have to get Boss Qin to chase him out. The three beasts were indignant. Just as they were about to rush towards Old Man Qin in anger, Wang Yangfeng's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly sent a sound transmission, "Don't mess around, we were just teasing you. He has already agreed to help us open the gate of potential." Teasing us? The three beasts were slightly stunned and immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation, glaring fiercely at the group of people. At this moment, Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "All right, you guys take your time to chat, I'll go take a look at my disciple." Although he liked the feeling of everyone gathering together to chat and laugh, he knew that he was not qualified to do so now. There were many things waiting for him to deal with. "You have a disciple?" Old Man Qin looked at him in surprise. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, "I'm at least a 4-star combat emperor now, what's wrong with accepting a disciple?" Old Man Qin said indifferently, "Nothing, I'm just worried that you'll lead others astray." When the old man and the others heard this, they couldn't help but laugh. Qin Feiyang was helpless. Was he that bad? Ignoring everyone's laughter, Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and quickly found Wang Xiaojie and Mu Chen. Swoosh! Following closely. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and glanced at everyone, then concealed his aura, and with a flash, he instantly descended above a forest. In the forest, the bushes were overgrown, the weeds were dense, and there were berserk beasts everywhere. However, the cultivation of the berserk beasts here was not strong, they were basically between the warrior and the war emperor. Although these berserk beasts were nothing to Qin Feiyang, to Wang Xiaojie and Mu Chen, they were fatal existences. At this moment, the two of them were being chased by a few berserk beasts. Their hair was a mess and their bodies were covered in blood. They also emitted a stench, as if they were two beggars. Wang Xiaojie roared, "Ever since we were thrown here, we have been chased by berserk beasts all day long. When will these days end? What's the use of complaining? Hurry up and think of a way to deal with them. Otherwise, we'll all be finished today." Mu Chen was relatively calmer. After all, he had experienced many things in the Mu family that Wang Xiaojie had never experienced. However, although they had been chased by berserk beasts during this period of time, their battle consciousness and courage were growing every day. Shwa! Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the forest and landed beside Qin Feiyang. He bowed and said, "Greetings, young master." This was a middle-aged man with the cultivation of an 8-star combat emperor. "You are?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The burly man said respectfully, "This subordinate is called Wang Yi. Under the orders of the ancestor, I am secretly protecting the two of them." Chapter 1405. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and asked, "Then how have they been doing during this period of time?" Wang Yi looked down at the two and nodded with a smile. "They are all right, but Qin Chen's performance is better." Qin Chen was Mu Chen. It was the name Qin Feiyang gave him. "Tell me about it." Qin Feiyang was curious. Regardless of whether it is Qin Chen's temperament or the way he handles things, they are all a level higher than Wang Xiaojie's. In addition, his cultivation is stronger than Wang Xiaojie's to begin with. Therefore, during this period of time, he has been taking care of Wang Xiaojie. Wang Yi smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Chen's experience was similar to his. He was poisoned by Mu Qin and became a cripple. After experiencing despair and pain, he finally broke out of his cocoon and became a butterfly. So, in terms of temperament, Wang Xiaojie was definitely inferior. Wang Yi smiled again. Of course, Wang Xiaojie's situation is understandable. After all, he is still a young man and has just stepped onto the path of cultivation. It is difficult for him to accept so many things in such a short time. That's why I asked him to come with Qin Chen to temper himself. There is a good saying, a jade cannot be made into a treasure if it is not polished. Wang Xiaojie's talent is better than Qin Chen's. But if he is not polished, his future achievements may not be as good as Qin Chen's. Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yi clasped his hands. "Young master, you are too kind. It is Wang Xiaojie's fortune to have you as his master." Qin Feiyang shook his head with a smile and said, "Continue watching them. But remember, don't help them until the last moment of your life." "Yes." Wang Yi bowed and said, "Then how long are they going to train?" "Sharpness. I want to see sharpness in them that others of the same age do not before it is over." Qin Feiyang said and returned to the castle. Everyone was cultivating. Only Dan Wankai and Fatso were organizing the treasures from the Zhuge family. Qin Feiyang stepped forward, looked at Dan Wankai, and asked with a smile, "How many medicinal ingredients for the great creation pill do we have now?" "A lot." Dan Wankai replied as he sorted out the items. "Can you make it clearer?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. He also knew that there were many. This was because the Mu family's herbal field alone had a lot of herbs. But how many are there? One had to know. During this period of time, they had not only plundered the Mu family's medicinal fields, they had also plundered the medicinal fields cultivated by the imperial preceptor's descendants in the Sea of Reincarnation. And now, he had even ransacked the Zhuge family's treasury. Adding all of these together, it was definitely beyond imagination. Dan Wangkai stopped what he was doing, lowered his head and muttered to himself for a while. He then stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "We've already gathered more than 100 sets of the Great Creation Pill's ingredients. However, we can only refine 33 Great Creation Pills at the moment." So many? Qin Feiyang was shocked. This was truly beyond his imagination. Wait a minute. We've already gathered more than 100 sets of ingredients, why can we only refine 33 pills? Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously. Because we only have 33 fruits of creation. Dan Wangkai said. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned, then a wry smile appeared on his face. Yes. Although they had the tree of creation, only the Mu family's tree of creation had 30 fruits of creation. The other tree of creation only had 3 fruits. The fruit of creation was the most important ingredient for the Great Creation Pill. Without the fruit of creation, it was impossible to refine the pill. I've carefully checked the elixir. According to the records, the tree of creation takes 100 years to bloom, 100 years to bear fruit, and 100 years to mature. In other words, the whole process will take a full 300 years. So, if we want to refine more Great Creation Pills, we have to find another fruit of creation. After all, 300 years is too long, we can't afford to wait. Dan Wangkai looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Qin Feiyang nodded. Apart from the Great Creation Pill, the ingredients for the Soul Concentrating Pill have been gathered for 30 portions. But the ingredients for the Spirit Concentrating Pill have only been gathered for 10 portions. Dan Wangkai said. So little. Qin Feiyang frowned. The Soul Concentrating Pill and the Spirit Concentrating Pill both have the effect of condensing the Divine Soul. But the difference is that the Soul Concentrating Pill is taken when breaking through to the Pseudo-God realm, which is the early stage of condensing the Divine Soul. The Spirit Concentrating Pill is taken when breaking through to the War God realm. So in terms of grade, these two elixirs are a little higher than the Great Creation Pill. So the ingredients are also rarer than the Great Creation Pill. Dan Wangkai explained. What about the 5 Elements Universe Pill? Qin Feiyang asked. Hearing the 5 Elements Universe Pill, Dan Wangkai suddenly smiled bitterly. Although the 5 Elements Universe Pill is of the same level as the Great Creation Pill, the ingredients are rarer than the Spirit Concentrating Pill and the Soul Concentrating Pill. Because the essence of water, the essence of fire, the essence of wood, the essence of earth, and the essence of earth are all natural treasures that can only be found by chance. Dan Wangkai sighed. Qin Feiyang also smiled helplessly and said, in fact, the 5 Elements Universe Pill is not that important. Anyway, we have opened the door of potential and the ancient castle is a cultivation artifact. We don't care about the benefits that the 5 Elements Universe Pill brings. That's true. The most important thing is the Great Creation Pill, the Soul Concentrating Pill, and the Spirit Concentrating Pill. Especially the Great Creation Pill, the door of everyone's potential must be opened. Dan Wangkai said. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, after finishing the things at hand, go to the herb field and collect the ingredients for 21 portions of the Great Creation Pill and the Soul Concentrating Pill. You need so much at once. What do you want to do? Dan Wangkai was surprised and puzzled. Lei Bao and Wang Yangfeng have already stepped into the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. Before comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god, I must help them open the door of potential. As for the Soul Concentrating Pill, although they don't need it at the moment, I'll give it to them in advance. When they break through to the semi-god realm, they don't have to bother us anymore and can take it directly. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Fatso, who had been burying his head in organizing the treasures, immediately looked up at Qin Feiyang and said with dissatisfaction, "Boss, you're too generous." Dan Wangkai also frowned. "I know what you're thinking. Right now, we can only refine 33 Great Creation pills and 30 Spirit Concentrating pills. Now we have to give out 21 pills. What will you do when you need them in the future?" "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The two did not deny it. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. "Although Lei Bao, Old Wang and the others only decided to follow me later on, regardless of whether it might be you all or them, I treat you all equally. Now that they need it, I must give it to them first. After all, the stronger they are, the more help they will be to us. As for your future, don't worry, I will think of a way to find more herbs. In short, I promise you that before you break through to the semi-god realm, I will let all of you open the 8th level of the Gate of Potential. In addition, I'll make a solemn statement. We are now a big family. We should protect and understand each other. We can't be selfish." Qin Feiyang said. In fact, he could understand Fatso and Dan Wangcai's thoughts. After all, it was no longer the same as before. In the past, they were just a small team with few people. They didn't need to worry about the pills. And now, there were more than 1 million people in the ancient pagoda. Therefore, there was a situation where there were too many monks and too little porridge. Of course, Qin Feiyang had already expected this and had a plan to deal with it. Survival of the fittest. This was an unchanging law. No matter where, resources were usually tilted towards the winner. However, no matter how the fittest survived, he would not forget these people and beasts who had been following him and would take care of them first. Beasts such as the black dragon snake, the mountain pangolin, and the flood dragon did not contribute much to him compared to Wang Yangfeng and the others. Especially the black dragon snake. Ever since it followed Qin Feiyang, it had been cultivating in seclusion. But had Qin Feiyang ever given up on it? No. Not only did he not give up, as long as it was what the black dragon snake wanted, Qin Feiyang would satisfy it. This was Qin Feiyang's character. He cherished his comradeship and friendship very much. As long as you treated him sincerely, he would repay you 10 times, or even 100 times. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Fatso and Dan Wangkai both fell silent, with a hint of shame on their faces. Fatso looked at Qin Feiyang apologetically, and said, "Boss, I'm sorry, I was selfish, I promise I won't do it again." "Me too." Dan Wangkai lowered his head and said. Qin Feiyang laughed, "It's great to know your mistakes and be able to correct them." Seeing that Qin Feiyang did not look angry at all, the two of them secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and a smile crept onto their faces. "You guys go ahead." Qin Feiyang smiled, then walked to the front of the altar, opened the iron box, flipped open the 6-word divine formula, and continued to copy the Xing character formula. Actually, in terms of contribution, Dan Wangcai's contribution to Qin Feiyang was the greatest. Because ever since Dan Wangkai entered the castle, Qin Feiyang had basically never touched the pill furnace again. One had to know. With so many people and so many fierce beasts cultivating in the castle, the amount of pills they needed was not a small amount. Moreover, Qin Feiyang himself was copying the 6-word divine formula, which consumed even more battle Qi Dan. If not for Dan Wangcai's help, Qin Feiyang would definitely not have been able to concentrate on cultivating like he was now. Moreover, it was also because Dan Wangkai often refined pills that he delayed his cultivation. Originally, his cultivation was not as good as Dan Wangcai's, but now, he had surpassed Dan Wangkai. Therefore, Qin Feiyang was extremely grateful to Dan Wangkai. He would do his best to satisfy Dan Wangcai's requests. Time flew. The next day, Dan Wangkai and Fatso finally finished sorting out the treasures of the Zhuge family. Fatso directly entered a state of cultivation. Dan Wangkai went to the ancient tower to collect the medicinal ingredients for the Great Creation Pill and the Soul Concentrating Pill. After that, Qin Feiyang personally opened the furnace to refine pills, while Dan Wangkai assisted from the side. After all, Dan Wangkai's talent in alchemy was ultimately not as good as Qin Feiyang's. Whether it was the Great Creation Pill or the Soul Concentrating Pill, they were the same as the 9-turn Dragon Blood Pill and the Small Creation Pill. The more pill patterns there were, the higher the success rate. Therefore, Qin Feiyang had to personally refine them. However, even if Qin Feiyang personally refined them, he also wasted a portion of the Great Creation Pill and the Soul Concentrating Pill's medicinal ingredients. Because these two pills were too difficult to refine. Whether it was the heat or the technique, they all had to be done perfectly. After the refinement, Qin Feiyang was sweating profusely, to the point that water could be wrung out of his clothes. It was also because of the waste of a set of medicinal ingredients that there were only 11 complete sets of medicinal ingredients left for the Great Creation Pill and 8 complete sets of medicinal ingredients for the Soul Concentrating Pill. However, Dan Wangkai looked at Qin Feiyang with a face full of admiration. For such a difficult pill to refine, only one set of medicinal ingredients was wasted. His attainments in alchemy were truly astonishing. If it were him, he might not even be able to successfully refine a pill with 5 sets of medicinal ingredients. Chapter 1406. After refining the Great Creation Pill and Soul Condensing Pill, Qin Feiyang rested for a while and refined some small creation pills. As for the potential pill, he already had it, so there was no need to refine it. After doing all this, Qin Feiyang continued to copy the Xing formula. Elixir King Kai brought the pills into the ancient pagoda and handed them to Wang Yangfeng and the Thunder Leopard. When they received the pills from Dan Wangkai, whether it was the Thunder Leopard, the other 2 beasts, or Wang Yangfeng and the others, they were all extremely excited. However, Dan Wangkai was very nervous. He was worried that everyone would fail when opening the 7th and 8th level of the Door of Potential. Because once they failed, it meant that they would have to waste another set of medicinal herbs. One had to know. Now, every time he used one of these pills, there would be one less. However, everyone was very hard-working. After half a day, with the help of Elder Qin, they successfully opened the 8th level of the Door of Potential. And Dan Wangkai still had one more set of pills in his hands. This was prepared for Wang Yishan. Wang Yishan accompanied the commander of the Kirin army to find the emperor and had not returned yet. Time passed day by day. The imperial capital and the central divine kingdom were very lively now. Every day, people came and went from both sides. At first, everyone was just curious. But whether it was the imperial capital or the central divine kingdom, there were some arrogant people or some people who wanted the world to be in chaos. How could they always get along peacefully? Therefore, as time passed, disputes slowly appeared. And the people in power of the Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent, because they were afraid of the snow python, did not interfere and allowed those people to cause trouble. In short, in their eyes, as long as no one died, it was fine. Because of this, some people became more and more presumptuous, running to the opposite side in groups to cause trouble. Among them, the ones who caused the most trouble were Wang Zicheng and his group. As the Qinghai 10 heroes, each of them had extraordinary talent, so they naturally felt that they were superior to others. In addition, their personalities were originally arrogant and unruly, so they caused a lot of trouble in the imperial capital these days. And the disciples of the War God Temple in the imperial capital were all arrogant people, so they naturally would not let them continue to be so arrogant. The dispute between the two sides became bigger and bigger. Finally, the flames of war erupted. The younger generation often fought in the sky above the Pill Pagoda's plaza in the first city district. Of course, these people were all disciples of the War God Temple, Sacred Tower, and Sacred Peak. Because no one else could interfere at all, In short, the monstrous geniuses on both sides didn't want to lose to the other side. As a result, both sides fell into an unprecedented state of chaos. Meanwhile, while the chief tower master and the others were investigating the situation in Great Qin, the imperial tutor and the others were also investigating the situation in the Forgotten Continent. But they had a tacit understanding. Qin Feiyang was the one who made the most inquiries. The people on both sides didn't try to hide it. As such, in just a few days, whether it was Qin Feiyang's actions in Great Qin or in the Forgotten Continent, everyone knew about them. People on both sides were surprised. No one in the Forgotten Continent would have thought that Qin Feiyang had done so many shocking things in the Great Qin Empire. And no one in the Great Qin Empire would have thought that Qin Feiyang was so savage in the Forgotten Continent. Although Qin Feiyang hadn't appeared since the opening of the Gate of Time and Space, he had become the subject of heated discussion on both continents. At the same time, everyone finally understood Qin Feiyang's current situation. The Forgotten Continent couldn't tolerate him, and the Great Qin Empire couldn't tolerate him either. This was simply making the entire world his enemy. I really didn't expect this Qin Feiyang to be so annoying. Yeah, there's no place for him on both continents. It's really funny. He can only blame himself for being too arrogant. Hasn't he heard of the old saying that the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind? No wonder he hid when the Gate of Time and Space opened. After offending so many people, does he dare to not hide? Believe it or not, if he didn't hide, he would have been cut into pieces by now. Everyone was discussing. In the eyes of the world, Qin Feiyang had already become the public enemy. There were people attacking him at every moment. On the 5th day of the opening of the Gate of Time and Space, Wang Yishan and the commander of the Kirin army finally returned. Qin Feiyang immediately welcomed them into the castle. Looking at the two of them, he smiled and asked, "How was it?" The commander of the Kirin army lowered his head, looking extremely downcast. Wang Yishan glanced at the commander of the Kirin army, shook his head and sighed. These days, he has been kneeling in front of the emperor and begging, but the emperor didn't even look at him. If I didn't forcefully pull him away, I'm afraid he would still be kneeling there. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang wasn't surprised at all. Looking at the commander of the Kirin army, he said calmly, "Now you should know what kind of person the emperor you respect is." The commander of the Kirin army suddenly raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, angrily saying, "The emperor must have his difficulties." Difficulties? You think too highly of him. In my opinion, he is just a coward. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. The commander of the Kirin army was unable to restrain his anger. He grabbed Qin Feiyang's clothes and shouted, "I won't allow you to slander the emperor like this." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and slapped away the commander of the Kirin army's big hand, saying, "This is the reality. You have to accept it even if you don't want to." After saying this, Qin Feiyang didn't care how bad the commander of the Kirin army looked. He turned to Dan Wangkai and said, "Give the elixirs to Mr. Wang." Dan Wangkai took out a jade box from his arms and handed it to Wang Yishan. "What is this?" Wang Yishan was suspicious. Dan Wangkai smiled and said, "The elixirs to unlock the door of potential are specially prepared by the young master for you." Wang Yishan raised his trembling hands and took the jade box. He opened the lid and saw several elixirs lying quietly inside. "Thank you, young master." After coming back to his senses, Wang Yishan quickly knelt down and thanked him. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "During this period of time, you have risked your life for me. This is what you deserve. Go to the ancient tower and find Mr. Qin. He will help you unlock the door of potential. After that, you can begin to comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god and strive to step into the false god realm as soon as possible." Yes. Wang Yishan was extremely excited. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Wang Yishan to the ancient tower. Then he looked at the commander of the Kirin army and finally sent the commander of the Kirin army to the ancient tower. Then Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal. Buzz. Soon Yan Wei's shadow appeared and bowed, "Greetings, young master." Qin Feiyang asked, "Has the imperial preceptor done anything these days?" Yan Wei said in a deep voice, "I was just about to find a time to report this matter to you." Qin Feiyang frowned. Looking at Yan Wei's expression, it seemed that there really was a situation. These days, the imperial preceptor has already understood what you have done in the Forgotten Continent. Just this morning, he asked me to go to the main tower to look for the chief tower master. Yan Wei said. Look for the chief tower master. Qin Feiyang was startled, and said, "It can't be that he wants to join hands with the chief tower master to deal with me, right?" Yan Wei said, "That's what he thinks." Then what did the chief tower master say? Qin Feiyang asked. Is there a need to say? With the chief tower master's vengeful personality, of course he nodded his head and agreed without hesitation. In short, you have already become the public enemy of both continents. A lot of people are looking for you. There are even some reckless people who are shouting in the sky above the first district every day. Yan Wei sneered. Let them shout as they wish, as long as they don't insult my mother. Qin Feiyang waved his hand indifferently. That's not it. After all, everyone knows that the mistress is your reverse scale. Last time, everyone saw the death of Zhuge Jinghong. But there are a few people who have been very arrogant these days, and they don't even put Emperor Hong in their eyes. Do you know that they actually dared to say to Emperor Hong that a good dog doesn't block the way? Yan Wei joked. What? There are still such daring people, who are they? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Old acquaintances, Wang Zicheng and the others. Yan Wei said. Qin Feiyang was stunned, shook his head helplessly, and said, So it's them, then it's not strange at all. Right, there's one more thing. Yan Wei suddenly said. What is it? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Yan Wei said, the imperial tutor is working to persuade the various martial marquis, and there are already 5 martial marquis who have agreed to follow the imperial tutor's lead. 2 of them are even your acquaintances, Qianwu Marquis and Enwu Marquis. This old bastard, he's really fast. Qin Feiyang frowned, his gaze suddenly turned cold, and said, other than Qianwu Marquis and Enwu Marquis, who are the other 3 martial marquis? Yan Wei said, Mo Wu Marquis, Qi Wu Marquis, Gu Wu Marquis. These scum, I won't let any of them go. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent. In addition, there's one more thing. In the morning court in 5 days, the imperial tutor will officially let Zhuge Mingyang inherit the title of Zhuge Wu Marquis. Yan Wei said. Him. Worthy? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Yan Wei said, regardless of whether he is worthy or not, Emperor Hong has already agreed. Furthermore, Zhuge Mingyang is the only son of Zhuge Wu Marquis, so he will definitely be the one to inherit the title of martial marquis. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered to himself for a while, then asked, the morning court in 5 days, right? Yes. Yan Wei nodded. I understand. Continue to pay attention to the imperial tutor's movements. If there's any news, inform me immediately. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he turned off the image crystal and sent a message to the Marquis of Shao. Soon, the image of the Marquis of Shao appeared. Qin Feiyang asked, I asked you to persuade the various martial marquis, how is it going? It's not going very well. Marquis Shao shook his head. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang frowned. In the past few days, I've asked all the martial marquis who have a good relationship with me, but none of them answered me directly. Sometimes I wonder if I should tell them the truth. For example, His Majesty is not dead. But I'm worried that they'll secretly inform the imperial tutor. After all, these martial marquis are all old foxes. No one knows what they're thinking. The Marquis of Shao said. It seems that this matter is more complicated than I thought. Right now, there are already 5 martial marquis who have chosen to follow the imperial tutor. If we don't hurry up, I'm afraid that we will end up with nothing. Qin Feiyang frowned. What? Which 5 martial marquis? The Marquis of Shao said in shock and anger. Qin Feiyang said, An Wu Ho, Qian Wu Ho, Gu Wu Ho, Mo Wu Ho, Qi Wu Ho. How can they do this? Even if the imperial tutor is in power now, as a martial marquis, you shouldn't go and seek refuge with him. The marquis's position should be neutral, standing on the side of justice. The Marquis of Shao flew into a rage. He was extremely disappointed with the 5 martial marquis. Neutral? Qin Feiyang sneered, and said, right now, the fist is in charge. Whoever's fist is harder, everyone will fall for him. The Marquis of Shao calmed down, pondered for a moment, and said, then why don't we think of a way? We don't have to convince them to stand with us, but at least they don't dare to rely on the imperial tutor. I have the same plan. Let me think about it carefully. You stay put for now. Qin Feiyang instructed. All right. Also, I've been feeling that someone is secretly monitoring me recently. I think it should be the imperial tutor's men. The Marquis of Shao said. At the moment, he doesn't dare to make a move on you, but you have to be careful. Don't let him catch you. Qin Feiyang warned. Yes. The Marquis of Shao nodded. After the conversation ended, Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, lowered his head, and muttered to himself. Time passed breath by breath. Since persuasion won't work, then we can only use bloody methods to intimidate them. After a long while. Chapter 1407. According to the time in the ancient pagoda, the 4th stroke should take more than 150 days. But in the outside world, it was only half a month. At that time, Qin Feiyang's cultivation could step into the 5-star combat emperor realm. He was one step closer to the war god realm. Thinking back to the time when he was in Iron Ox Town, not to mention combat emperor and war god, he didn't even dare to think about becoming a war saint. He also never thought that he could reach this step today. Time flew by. On the 8th day of the spatial door's opening. Swish. On this day, Lu Xingqian, accompanied by Mu Zhongyun, entered the sky above the 1st district. Whoosh! The imperial tutor immediately flew into the sky and stood in front of the two. A good dog doesn't block the way. Lu Xingqian said indifferently. The imperial tutor's brows suddenly had a touch of hostility. He coldly looked at Lu Xingqian, looked at Mu Zhongyun, and said, I didn't expect that the people of your Mu family are still alive. You already know. Mu Zhongyun was surprised. Last time, I saw you and found that you looked a little familiar. Later, I looked through the ancient history and found that you look very similar to Mu Tianyang's son, Mu Zhongyun. This is very surprising to imperial preceptor. However, the ancient history recorded you when you were young. Now that you are old, I can't be sure. So, I sent people to the Central Divine Kingdom to investigate. In the end, I found that you are actually Mu Zhongyun. I also heard that your big brother Mu Zhongfeng is still alive in this world. I wonder how he is now. The imperial tutor sneered. Thank you for your concern. We are all good. But this old man is very curious. Who did you ask? Mu Zhongyun said. The imperial tutor said, do you still need to ask? You should know in your heart. It really is the main pagoda. Mu Zhongyun's eyes flashed with killing intent. Because in the Forgotten Continent, only the people of the main pagoda knew the details of his Mu family. Of course. Qin Feiyang also knew. However, with the relationship between Qin Feiyang and the imperial tutor, he would definitely not tell the imperial tutor. I heard from the chief tower master that your Mu family has been doing quite well in the Forgotten Continent. But it seems that your luck is also very bad. You have repeatedly fallen into the hands of Qin Feiyang. The most recent one was even more disastrous. The state preceptor sneered secretly. Mu Zhongyun clenched his fists as a bone-piercing cold light flashed in his eyes. The state preceptor ignored him and looked at Lu Xingchen. And you, if I'm not wrong, should be Mu Tianyang. Yes. That's me. Lu Xingchen looked at him proudly. All these years, you've been lurking in the temple, but we didn't know about it. I have to admit, you've really hidden yourself well. But there's one thing that I don't understand. Since you are Mu Tianyang, who was Ren Duxing killed by Qin Feiyang? The imperial advisor transmitted his voice. Because Lu Xingchen and Mu Zhongyun's identities were too shocking, he had been transmitting his voice secretly. Because once Lu Xingchen and Mu Zhongyun's identities were exposed to the world, it would definitely cause a huge uproar in the great Qin Empire. Lu Xingchen said, "He's a clone of me." Clone? The state preceptor frowned and asked suspiciously, "Why do you want to make such a clone? To hide the truth? Who do you think you are? Do you have the qualifications to make me answer your question?" Lu Xingchen said proudly, his eyes full of contempt. The state preceptor wasn't angry and secretly sneered, "What are you being arrogant for? Now you're just a ruler of a fallen country." Lu Xingchen said, "As long as I'm alive, the Heavenly Sun Empire will continue to exist." Wishful thinking. The Heavenly Sun Empire has been destroyed. Now it's the great Qin Empire that controls the rivers and mountains. Even you, Mu Tianyang, are powerless to reverse the situation. Besides, you don't have the ability now, do you? The state preceptor mocked. Preposterous. Mu Zhongyun couldn't help but go down and was about to fight. Lu Xingchen waved his hand and said, "It's just a clown. There's no need to bother with him. Let's go." Finished. Lu Xingchen opened a teleportation door and walked in without looking back. Mu Zhongyun looked at the state preceptor gloomily and quickly followed. "I'm a clown." Looking at the backs of the two, the state preceptor muttered to himself, his eyes flashing with strong killing intent. Following closely. He also opened a teleportation door and descended in front of a courtyard. The scenery here was beautiful and pleasant. A waterfall poured down from the top of the mountain and converged into a lake beside the courtyard. The lake water was clear and rippling. An old man with white hair sat quietly by the lake. It was Emperor Hong. The state preceptor walked to the front of Emperor Hong and said in a deep voice, "They are really from the Mu family," and Lu Xingchen even personally admitted that he is Mu Tianyang. Mu Tianyang, Emperor Hong pondered for a moment and sighed, "I really didn't expect that Mu Tianyang is still alive. Why didn't father eliminate the root of the problem?" Between the words, there was an unresolvable worry. That's right. If back then, the previous emperor could eliminate the root of the problem, how could today's matter happen? According to my inquiries, in the past 10,000 years, the Mu family has been recuperating in the Forgotten Continent, and their overall strength has surpassed ours. Mu Zhongyun and Mu Zhongfeng have both broken through to the peak of the false god realm. But fortunately, Qin Feiyang recently went to the Mu family once, causing the Mu family to suffer heavy losses, and even lost a false god. Otherwise, with our current strength, I'm afraid we really can't stop them. The state preceptor said. Heavy losses? Emperor Hong was stunned and asked, "How bad?" "I'm afraid you won't believe it even if I tell you. The Mu family's 8-star war emperor, 9-star war emperor, and 9-star war emperor, originally numbered in the thousands. But at that time, they were all killed by Qin Feiyang. As for Yiglao, I heard that his fate was even worse. He was forced to self-destruct in the endless sea. Moreover, the medicinal field that the Mu family had accumulated for tens of thousands of years was also looted by Qin Feiyang. Also, the Mu family's 1-star to 7-star war emperor were all massacred. In other words, in the current Mu family, other than Mu Tianyang and the others, the strongest is the 9-star war saint. The state preceptor laughed. Emperor Hong was dumbfounded. The dignified Mu family, because of a mere Qin Feiyang, had actually fallen to such a state. If these words didn't come from the state preceptor's mouth, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Emperor Hong said, "In that case, although Qin Feiyang has been opposing us all these years, he has also been silently contributing to the great Qin Empire." The state preceptor's eyes flashed, and he coldly snorted, "I'm afraid it's not for our great Qin Empire." Then why did he deal with the Mu family? Emperor Hong frowned. "I think it's for his own selfish desires. He's thinking about the Mu family's medicinal field." Moreover, in the Forgotten Continent, the Mu family had repeatedly tried to kill him. With his personality, he will definitely think of ways to take revenge on the Mu family. The state preceptor sneered. "That makes sense." Emperor Hong nodded and asked, "Then now, how many fake gods does the Mu family have?" "According to my investigation, there are only Mu Changfeng, Mu Changyun, and Mu Tianyang himself." The state preceptor said. "Then the Mu family is nothing to worry about." Emperor Hong waved his hand. "The Mu family is nothing to worry about now, but according to my investigation, the Mu family has given birth to another monster. This person is called Mu Qing, and he has opened a battle soul called Heaven's Eye. He can ignore all space, the barriers of all continents, and spy on all living things in the world." The state preceptor said in a deep voice. "Heaven's Eye." Emperor Hong's eyes trembled, and he said, "This old man has also heard of this battle soul. It's rarer than any other battle soul, and the threat is great. If there's a chance, we must eliminate this person." "I think so too." The state preceptor said, his eyes flashing with killing intent, and then he said, "In addition, there's one more thing that's very troublesome." "What is it?" Emperor Hong was suspicious. The state preceptor said, "I believe you also know that to open the miracle, you need a key." "I know. Back then, my father personally told me, and there are also records in ancient history. This key is in the hands of the main tower. They are, Heavenly Star Flame, Heavenly Thunder Flame, Ice Flame, and to enter the miracle, you also need these 10 types of fire, otherwise you will be torn apart by the space-time storm. So, during this period of time, you have to build a good relationship with the people of the main tower, or think of a way to get 1 or 2 types of fire from the main tower. As long as you can get it, no matter what price you have to pay, it doesn't matter." Emperor Hong said. "If these 10 types of fire are still in the main tower, I'm sure I can get 1 or 2 types of fire. But the problem now is that these 10 types of fire are not in the hands of the main tower." The state preceptor said. "How is that possible?" "My father said that from ancient times until now, these fire have been kept by the main tower." Emperor Hong looked at him in surprise. "It's true. The last time I sent someone to investigate the situation of the Forgotten Continent, there was news about these fire. It said that these fire have been snatched away." The state preceptor said. Emperor Hong suddenly stood up and asked, "Who?" "Qin Feiyang and Mu Jia." The state preceptor said word by word. This, Emperor Hong's face was dull, and his whole person was not good. "Sir, what do you think we should do now? With our relationship with Qin Feiyang and Mu Jia, they definitely won't give us the fire. In other words, even if the spacetime door is open every day, even if we can enter the central divine kingdom, even if we can reach the entrance of the miracle, we can only watch them enter." The state preceptor at this moment seemed to be a little out of his wits. Emperor Hong returned to the stone bench, his brows tightly locked together. "How about we go find the snow python?" The state preceptor's eyes suddenly lit up, and he suggested. "Do you think the snow python will help us?" As the guardian of the Forgotten Continent, the snow python must know that the fire is in the hands of the Mu Jia and Qin Feiyang. If she will help us, when the spacetime door was opened, connecting the imperial capital and the central divine kingdom, she would have already asked the Mu Jia and Qin Feiyang to hand over the fire. But she didn't do that. I think she means that she will allow us to enter the miracle, but whether we can enter in the end depends on our own ability. Emperor Hong said. Then we can't just give up like this, right? The state preceptor raised his eyebrows. Emperor Hong waved his hand and said, let this old man think about it, if there's nothing else, you can go first. Good. The state preceptor nodded, looked deeply at the back of Emperor Hong, then turned around and strode away. Qin Feiyang, what kind of person are you? Attacking the Mu Jia, is it to vent your personal anger? Or for the safety of great Qin? Also, why are you involved in every single one of these things? Chapter 1408. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also received Lu Xingqian's message. The two agreed to meet at the Black Dragon Pool. Black Dragon Pool. It has been a long time since the last time he set up a trap for Yen Wei to sneak into the state preceptor's side. The broken mountains and earth have long been covered with dense vegetation, full of vitality. Above a mountain peak, Lu Xingqian stood with his hands behind his back, facing the wind, looking down at the mountains and rivers below. His eyes were calm and no one knew what he was thinking. Mu Zhongyun stood silently behind him. When Qin Feiyang comes, I won't allow you to do anything improper. Suddenly, Lu Xingqian opened his mouth. Why? He tricked our Mu Jia so much, can't I teach him a lesson and let him taste the pain of flesh and blood? Mu Zhongyun was dissatisfied. To achieve great things, you must learn to be patient. Lu Xingqian said. Mu Zhongyun still wanted to say something. Lu Xingqian abruptly turned his head to stare at him, his eyes carrying a merciless coldness as he said, if this emperor's plan is ruined because of you, then even if you are this emperor's son, this emperor will not let you off. Zhongyun doesn't dare, Zhongyun knows his mistake. Mu Zhongyun's face changed and quickly bowed. Swish. Soon, a figure appeared in front of the two out of thin air. Who else could it be if it wasn't Qin Feiyang? Lu Xingqian smiled and said, Brother Qin, I haven't seen you for a few days, how have you been? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He originally thought that Lu Xingqian came to denounce him, but he didn't expect that he would try to get close to him. What does he mean? I already know what you did to my Mu Jia, but it doesn't matter to me. Lu Xingqian said with a smile. Really? Don't treat me like a child and fool me. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xingqian warily. It was impossible for anyone to remain indifferent when encountering such a situation. Not to mention Lu Xingqian. He didn't believe that this guy would be so magnanimous. Lu Xingqian said sadly, I'm disappointed by your words. We've been together for so many years. When have I ever lied to you? Then why have you come to the imperial capital this time? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Lu Xingqian said, I have something to discuss with you. What is it? Qin Feiyang frowned. He thought to himself that it was definitely not something good. Lu Xingqian smiled and asked, You definitely know about the miracle, but do you know how to enter it? What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. 10 types of alchemy fires are needed to open the divine ruin. Similarly, these alchemy fires are also needed to enter the divine ruin. Because there is a passage inside the gate of the divine ruin. This passage is filled with something called a spacetime storm. This spacetime storm is extremely lethal. Even a real god of war will die on the spot if he is swept by the spacetime storm. Lu Xingqian said. It's so terrifying. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Yes. However, the alchemy fires in our hands can isolate the spacetime storm. But each alchemy fire can only bring 1,000 people into the divine ruin at most. Lu Xingqian said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, You mean, the number of people entering the divine ruin is limited? Yes. 10 types of alchemy fires, 10,000 people, so only 10,000 people can enter the divine ruin at most. And there is another condition to enter the divine ruin. The minimum cultivation level to enter is a 1-star god of war. Lu Xingqian said with a smile. Pseudo-gods like you can also enter? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Yes. Gods of war and pseudo-gods can all enter. Lu Xingqian nodded. What about gods of war? Qin Feiyang asked. Gods of war can also enter, but how many gods of war are there in this world? Lu Xingqian smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang was a little uneasy. The snow python was a real god of war. If the snow python also entered the divine ruin on a whim, then even if the divine ruin was full of treasures, no one would be able to snatch them from her. Lu Xingqian said, I have no other purpose in telling you this. I just hope to cooperate with you on a deeper level. Deeper level? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked in confusion, how so? Now, 7 of the 10 alchemy fires are in my hands, and the other 3 are in your hands. In other words, only the 2 of us can enter the divine ruin. Think about it. If only the 2 of us can enter the divine ruin, then wouldn't all the treasures in the divine ruin be ours? Lu Xingqian smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and smiled, so that's what you're thinking. You're indeed a cunning old fox, but I like it. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Moreover, if Great Qin and Forgotten Continents people also enter the divine ruin, it won't be good for us either, right? Lu Xingqian laughed. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded thoughtfully, then said, but after thinking about it, if only the 2 of us enter the divine ruin, I'll only be at a disadvantage. What do you mean? Lu Xingqian was stunned and said. Your Mu clan has Mu Changyun and Mu Changfeng, 2 peak semi-divinity realm existences, while I only have Old Man Qin by my side. Moreover, Old Man Qin is just an ordinary semi-divinity realm expert. If you turn your back on me, won't I die? Qin Feiyang joked. Lu Xingqian said, don't worry, I can guarantee that before leaving the divine ruin, I won't do anything to you. Really? Qin Feiyang asked. I, Lu Xingqian, am a man of my word. Lu Xingqian said. Okay. I agree. Qin Feiyang nodded. Brother Qin is indeed a straightforward person. 7 days later, we'll meet at the entrance of the divine ruin. Lu Xingqian was overjoyed and laughed. There are only 7 days left before the divine ruin opens. Okay. Qin Feiyang said. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Xingqian cupped his hands and smiled, then opened the portal and left with Mu Changyun. Qin Feiyang looked at the back of the 2, and his eyes flashed slightly, then he also entered the castle. Dan Wangkai said, Young master, you have to be careful, there must be a trap. I know. Lu Xingqian hasn't killed me yet, probably because he wants me to help him do something in the divine ruin. When I help him do this, I'm sure that he will immediately kill me. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. Dan Wangkai said in surprise, so, the deep cooperation he's talking about now is actually preparation for the future. Yes. He should be doing this to prevent Emperor Hong. After all, Emperor Hong is my great-grandfather. He's worried that when he kills me, Emperor Hong will help me out of consideration for family ties. Most importantly, he has been coveting the castle and Chang Shui for a long time and doesn't want a third person to interfere. If only I go in with him, when I die, won't Chang Shui and the castle be in his pocket? Qin Feiyang said with a smile. This is a killing trap, and you can still laugh. Dan Wangkai was speechless. So what if it's a killing trap? In this world, he's not the only one who knows how to set up a killing trap. Since he wants to plot against me, I might as well beat him at his own game. Qin Feiyang said. Dan Wangkai was slightly stunned and said, So, you've already thought of a countermeasure? I think it's not only us, but also the Lu family wants to see a place like the divine ruin. Qin Feiyang chuckled and turned to look at Lu Zheng, who was meditating with his eyes closed. Dan Wangkai also looked at Lu Zheng, with a strange color in his eyes. Lu Zheng helplessly opened his eyes, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, "I knew you wouldn't forget my Lu family. How about it? Take me to the Lu family." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "That won't do. Without second grandpa's consent, I wouldn't dare to take you there." Lu Zheng shook his head like a rattledrum. Hearing this, Dan Wangkai couldn't help but snicker. This guy didn't know that Qin Feiyang had already been to the Lu family. Second grandpa and third grandpa already knew. Qin Feiyang also smiled meaningfully, stepped forward, grabbed Lu Zheng, and descended over the black dragon pool. "I said I can't go, so I can't go. Don't force me, okay?" Lu Zheng looked at him angrily. "I won't force you, and I don't need you to lead the way, because I know where the Lu family is." Qin Feiyang chuckled and opened a portal. "You know. Are you talking in your sleep?" Lu Zheng looked at him in astonishment. "You'll know soon whether I'm talking in my sleep or not." Qin Feiyang grabbed Lu Zheng and rushed into the portal. Swish! The next moment, the two landed over a square. On the square, there were two statues of deities. One statue was riding a purple gold dragon, and the other was riding a flaming divine wind. From afar, they looked like two overlords of heaven and earth, exuding a king's aura that could intimidate all things. Lu Zheng looked at the square and the two statues, and his expression suddenly became dull. Wasn't this the place of inheritance of the Lu family? How did Qin Feiyang know the coordinates? Third grandpa was still sitting cross-legged under the stone tablet as before. There was no aura around him, and he looked like an old grandpa next door. He looked kind and kind. Third grandpa opened his eyes when he sensed the auras of Qin Feiyang and Xiaoqian. He raised his head and looked at the two of them. A smile immediately appeared on his old face. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You are back." "Yes." Lu Zheng nodded. But then, he was stunned again. Because he found that third grandpa wasn't talking to him at all. What was going on? At this moment, his mind was in a mess. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Zheng in amusement, landed next to third grandpa, and bowed. "Greetings, third grandpa. We all know what Emperor Hong did to you. You've been wronged." Third grandpa grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and sighed. "It's okay." Qin Feiyang smiled. Third grandpa sighed. "You silly child, don't always be so stubborn. If you feel wronged, just say it. It's uncomfortable to keep it in your heart. I've long been used to it. There's nothing to feel uncomfortable about." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and asked with a smile, "How are you and second grandpa recently?" Third grandpa said, "We're all the same. There's no illness or disaster, and we're carefree. I really envy you. When will I be able to live a life like yours?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, his face full of yearning. "Brat, your life has just begun and you want to slack off." Third grandpa scolded with a smile. Qin Feiyang chuckled and scratched his head, looking very naive. Chapter 1409. Wait. What the hell is going on? Lu Zheng came to his senses and quickly flew down, looking at the two of them suspiciously. Qin Feiyang had never been to the Lu family before, had he? But why did he seem so familiar with third grandpa now? It didn't seem like the first time they had met. Third grandpa's face darkened and he said, "You still have the nerve to ask. Isn't it all because of you?" "Me?" Lu Zheng pointed at his nose, looking confused. Third grandpa rolled his eyes at him and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Let's go to the village and have a good chat with your second grandpa. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Third grandpa glanced at Lu Jing again and said angrily, "What are you waiting for? Lead the way." Oh. Lu Jing responded and turned to fly toward the village with a stomach full of doubts. Feiyang will take his leave. Qin Feiyang bowed to third grandpa and quickly caught up with Lu Jing. Little cousin, what the hell is going on? Lu Jing turned back and looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Actually, I've been here a long time ago." "You've been here?" Lu Jing was stunned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "When? Why don't I know?" Lu Jing frowned. One had to know. During this period, he had been following Qin Feiyang. If Qin Feiyang really came to the Lu family, it was impossible for him not to know. Qin Feiyang said, "Last time, when you came back with the 10,000 beasts portrait, I followed you here." "What?" Lu Jing was stunned, and then he suddenly became angry. He grabbed Qin Feiyang's clothes and roared, "How dare you follow me?" Qin Feiyang faintly sighed and said, "I just want to know where grandfather lives." Is there a need to make it sound so unpleasant? Looking at Qin Feiyang's expression, Lu Jing couldn't help but feel a trace of sympathy. He said, "But you still can't follow me. If second grandpa finds out about this, won't he scold me to death?" Qin Feiyang said with an embarrassed smile, "Second grandpa already knows." Bastard. When Lu Jing heard this, he was furious again and punched Qin Feiyang in the stomach with all his might. Boom! Qin Feiyang smashed into the mountains below like a meteorite, creating a huge crater in the ground. His hair was disheveled and his face dirty, and he looked rather miserable. What happened? Third grandpa was just about to close his eyes and meditate, but when he heard the commotion, he immediately got up and took a step forward. In an instant, he landed beside Lu Jing. When he saw Qin Feiyang lying in the crater with blood flowing out, he immediately glared at Lu Jing and said, "What are you doing?" Lu Jing said, "He followed me. Can't I beat him up?" Third grandpa said angrily, "He followed you to the Lu family. That's his ability. You should reflect on yourself instead of yelling here, understand?" Lu Jing still wanted to argue. "What? You're not convinced? Do you want to go to Devil's Cliff to reflect on your mistakes?" Third grandpa's eyes flashed coldly. Devil's Cliff? Lu Zhang's expression changed. He quickly waved his hand and said with a flattering smile, okay. I'll reflect on myself. I'll definitely reflect on myself seriously. As long as I don't go to Devil's Cliff. That's more like it. Third grandpa glared at him, then lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang. He was slightly stunned. Why was this kid still lying in the crater? Could it be that Lu Zheng, that little bastard, hurt him in some vital part? Thinking of this, he hurriedly flew to Qin Feiyang, squatted on the ground, and asked, "How are you?" Qin Feiyang clutched his stomach and said in pain, "My sea of qi." Not only was his face pale, but his forehead was also full of sweat. Seeing this, Lu Jing frowned slightly and landed beside Qin Feiyang. He snorted coldly and said, "Don't pretend. I didn't use my full strength at all in that punch just now. Besides, even if I used my full strength, I couldn't have seriously injured you." In the past, Lu Zheng's cultivation was stronger than Qin Feiyang's. But now, Qin Feiyang had surpassed him. "Shut up." But before he finished speaking, third grandpa turned his head to look at Lu Zheng and shouted. Lu Zheng pursed his lips and fell silent. Third grandpa looked at Qin Feiyang again and asked, "What's wrong with your sea of qi?" Qin Feiyang said, "It's broken." "Bastard. He's your cousin. How could you do that?" Third grandpa was instantly enraged and shouted at Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng's expression also changed slightly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, you're not joking with me, right? With my current cultivation, how could I break your sea of chi with one punch? My current cultivation is higher than yours, but just now, I was not prepared at all. You gave me a punch. I'm lucky that I'm still alive, Qin Feiyang said intermittently. His voice was extremely weak. Don't talk now. Third Grandpa hurriedly said. Then he took out a spiritual sea pill and stuffed it into Qin Feiyang's mouth. Qin Feiyang was surprised to find that this spiritual sea pill had 6 veins. This meant that, the Lu family had an alchemist who was more powerful than Dan Wangkai. Who was this alchemist? Lu Zheng was completely dumbfounded. He looked down at his fist and muttered, "This is impossible." After giving Qin Feiyang the spirit sea pill, Third Grandpa suddenly stood up. He turned his head to look at Lu Zheng and said, "You disappoint me too much. Immediately go to Devil's Cliff and face the wall for 3 days. Don't." When Lu Zheng heard this, he immediately looked at Third Grandpa pitifully and begged, "Grandpa, I know I'm wrong, okay? I'll apologize to my cousin." "No, you must go." Third Grandpa's attitude was very firm. There was no room for discussion. "I'm not going," Lu Zheng shook his head. He would rather die than submit. "You're really not going?" Third Grandpa asked. There was a cold light in his old eyes. "Go, go, go." Seeing this, Lu Zheng's face turned slightly pale. He quickly nodded. But before he left, he glared fiercely at Qin Feiyang, as if to say, "Bastard, just wait and see." Qin Feiyang also returned a look to Lu Zheng. "Little guy, you're still too young to fight with me." Obviously, the broken sea of energy was just an act. After Lu Zheng left, Third Grandpa shook his head helplessly. He stood up and smiled. "Get up, stop pretending." "Ah." Qin Feiyang was stunned. He smiled and said, "You've already found out. Why don't you take a look at my cultivation? Do you think you can hide from my eyes whether or not your sea of energy is broken?" Third Grandpa rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang got up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Third Grandpa with an embarrassed expression. "I don't object to this at home. After all, you're still young and still have the innocence of a child. But outside, you two brothers must be united. Do you understand?" Third Grandpa said. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded heavily. "Then go." Third Grandpa smiled and waved his hand. "Okay." Qin Feiyang turned into a stream of light, rose into the air, and flew toward the village. At this moment, he was very happy. But the reason for his happiness was not because he had tricked Lu Zheng once. It was because of what Third Grandpa said before. Third Grandpa said that it was okay to make a scene at home. This home referred to the Lu family. In other words, Third Grandpa did not treat him as an outsider. His sense of belonging to this place was getting stronger and stronger. Although he was born in the imperial palace, he always thought that his first home was in Iron Ox Town. And the Lu family would become his second home in the great Qin Empire. In the village. As usual, the men were farming and herding outside, and the women were doing housework at home. The children were playing everywhere, and there was constant laughter. The old people gathered together to chat, drink tea, and play chess. Although it was ordinary, it was blissful. "Second Grandpa, what story are you going to tell us today?" In front of a courtyard, a group of children around 7 to 9 years old surrounded an old man in sackcloth, their faces full of anticipation. The old man in sackcloth was lying on an old-fashioned wooden armchair, looking at the group of children in front of him with a loving smile on his old face. "Today, Second Grandpa will tell you about a person called Qin Feiyang." "Qin Feiyang? Who is he? Is he very powerful?" The group of children asked curiously. Second Grandpa smiled and said, "He's not very powerful, but on this continent, there's no one who doesn't know his name. Second Grandpa, we don't agree with what you said. Do you know why? The two young men said with a serious face. Why? Second Grandpa looked at them suspiciously. You just said that there's no one who doesn't know his name, but we don't. Doesn't this prove that you're fooling us? The two young men said. The other children also nodded in agreement. Second Grandpa was stunned. For a moment, he did not know how to answer. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a sound of something piercing through the air. Second Grandpa looked up, and his face was full of smiles. Then, he looked at the children and said with a smile, "You'll know soon, because he's here in person." In person? The group of children looked up and saw a young man in white flying toward the village like lightning. At the same time, the old people in the village, the women, and the busy men outside the village also noticed the figure. Qin Feiyang. Why is this child here? I heard that last time, he came here secretly and got the inheritance of our ancestors. He's quite capable. Are you kidding? Don't you know whose descendant he is? Whether it's the Liu family or the Qin clan, our genes are not bad, not to mention that he's the product of our two families. The people started to talk. Everyone's face was full of the most sincere smiles. Whoosh! After a few breaths, Qin Feiyang flew into the sky above the village. Looking at the simple and sincere smiles of everyone, his sense of belonging to this place went further. This was the life he wanted. How comfortable and happy it would be for a family to live together without any worries and worries. His face was also full of an innocent smile. Whoosh! He landed in the village. The people in the village came from all directions. Second Grandpa also got up and walked slowly toward Qin Feiyang with a group of children. Feiyang, you're here. How have you been these years? But then again, the last time we saw you was many years ago. Yes, yes, yes. I still remember that you had just learned to walk at that time. You came back with your mother, wearing open-crotch pants all day long, running around and causing chaos in the village. Chapter 14:10. Really? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He really didn't remember these things. These are all things that happened when you were young. You definitely don't remember. But it doesn't matter. You just need to go home. Everyone here is your family. Although we haven't helped you much over the years, we've always been worried about you and your mother. People said. Qin Feiyang glanced at the strange faces in front of him. Although they were strangers, the kinship that blood was thicker than water could not be erased. His heart couldn't help but tremble. His eyes couldn't help but moisten. Because in this world, there was a group of lovely people who missed him and missed him. Greetings, grandpas, grandmas, uncles, aunts. At the same time, I also greet you on behalf of my mother. Qin Feiyang knelt on the ground and bowed. Good, good, good. Son, get up, get up. From now on, this is your home. You can come back whenever you want. We don't treat you as an outsider. Don't treat us as outsiders, either. Several old people nodded with relief and stepped forward to help Qin Feiyang up. Their old eyes were also filled with tears. Especially when they thought of Qin Feiyang's experience over the years, they couldn't help but feel sad. No. You will always be Feiyang's family. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Some women and old people looked at Qin Feiyang silently. At this moment, they were all smiling and crying. Mom, why are you crying? A 5-year-old child looked at his mother in confusion. Mom is not crying. She is happy. The child's mother replied. At this time, the crowd gradually dispersed. Second Grandpa walked over step by step and stopped in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Second Grandpa. Second Grandpa also looked at Qin Feiyang. None of them spoke. At this moment, the village was particularly quiet. After an unknown amount of time, Qin Feiyang strode forward and walked in front of second grandpa. He knelt on the ground and said, "This unfilial grandson, Qin Feiyang, pays respect to second grandpa." Unfilial, second grandpa muttered to himself. His old face was gradually filled with guilt. He reached out to help Qin Feiyang up. "Child, how can you say that about yourself? For the sake of your mother, you even disregarded your own life. Who in this world is more filial than you?" "It's second grandpa. I should apologize to you." Second grandpa sighed, his face full of self-blame. "No, no, no. You didn't let me down, nor did anyone in the Lu family. The one who let me down was the emperor, the Hong emperor, and those so-called family members of mine in the imperial palace." Qin Feiyang said. Everyone was silent. It could be seen that Qin Feiyang's resentment toward the people of the imperial palace was extraordinarily deep. "Child, since you're here, you don't have to think so much anymore. Yeah. In our place, let alone killing, we don't even have to scheme against each other. You can take this opportunity to relax." The old men laughed. "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right, everyone go and get ready. Feiyang, this child, has finally come back. We have to celebrate." "All right." The crowd quickly dispersed. The women of each family were busy. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang's heart was especially warm. He smiled and said, "It's good to have a family." When second grandpa heard this, he blamed himself even more. He also regretted it. Why did he have to worry so much and not bring Qin Feiyang to the Lu family earlier? She had let him suffer so much outside alone. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "Second grandpa, take me around." "All right." Second grandpa nodded. "Our village only has a total of 1,000 families. Including the elderly and children, there are more than 5,000 people. However, don't underestimate everyone. Because among these 5,000 people, half of them have the cultivation of the War Emperor, there are more than 1,000 nine-star War Emperor. Moreover, the fierce beasts within a radius of 10,000 miles of the village are all raised by our Lu family. There are at least 8,000 nine-star Emperor beasts, if not 10,000. As for 1-star to 8-star Emperor beasts, there are too many to count," second grandpa introduced with a smile as he brought Qin Feiyang around the village. "What?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. More than 1,000 nine-star War Emperors were already very shocking. There were actually so many 9-star Emperor beasts. There were at least 8,000 if not 10,000. Oh my God! What kind of concept was this? One had to know that there were only 80 or 99-star Emperor beasts in the ancient pagoda. At first, there were more than 100 of them. However, many of them died when they fought with the descendants of the imperial preceptor in the Sea of Reincarnation. As for the 9-star War Emperors, there were only 18 of them, Wang Yangfeng. Although they had all stepped into the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm, compared to the Lu family, they were not worth mentioning. Qin Feiyang asked, "How many people are at the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm?" "It seems to be 200 or 300. The elders who spoke to you just now are all at the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm," second grandpa said with a smile. Qin Feiyang was secretly speechless. No wonder he could not sense any aura from those elders earlier. The people of the Lu family do not really care about cultivation. As long as we can live together, see each other every day, and be happy. Second grandpa said. "When can my mother and I be like you?" Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed softly. Second grandpa stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He said with a smile, "Don't be too stubborn. Let nature take its course. Your obsession now is too deep. I'm afraid it will hinder you from becoming a god in the future." "How can I become a god?" Qin Feiyang asked. Let go of everything and return to your original intention and heart. This is the profound meaning of becoming a god. Actually, it's not difficult, but it's not easy either. It all depends on one's state of mind. With your talent, you will step into the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm sooner or later. Let go of your obsession. This is what you should do now. Second Grandpa said. Let go of my obsession, Qin Feiyang murmured and shook his head. He said, my obsession is deeply rooted. How can I let it go just like that? Moreover, it was because of my obsession that I gave birth to the inner demons. Second Grandpa sighed softly and said, the appearance of the inner demons has already sealed your fate. What fate? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. You can't become a god. Because the inner demons are the source of all obsessions. As long as the inner demons exist, so will the obsessions. Unless you can kill the inner demons. Second Grandpa said. Kill the inner demons. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. In the inner world, the inner demons heard Second Grandpa's words. Their bodies could not help but tremble violently. They said, Deity, we have fought side by side for so many years. You can't be so heartless. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He secretly comforted them. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, you will always exist. Hearing this, the inner demons breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang asked, Second Grandpa, is there any other way to become a god other than cutting off one's obsession? No. Second Grandpa shook his head. If you have to cut off your obsession to become a god, then why can ambitious people like the state preceptor and Mu Changfeng also become gods? Qin Feiyang frowned. Becoming a god doesn't mean that you have to be pure of heart and few desires. For example, this old man. Don't think that this old man is carefree now. In fact, this old man also has obsessions and desires. However, when comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god, we must first let go of these things. This is a very difficult process. Some people may not be able to do it in their entire lives. Second Grandpa said. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. This old man doesn't want to say anything about you, and I'm not qualified to say anything. However, this old man heard from Lu Zheng about your relationship with the inner demons. If you want to become a god, you have to make a choice. Second Grandpa said solemnly. A choice. Qin Feiyang looked up at the sky and said, I won't let go of my obsession, and I won't cut off the inner demons. However, I won't give up on becoming a god either. At this moment, his eyes looked extremely deep, as if they could pierce through time and space and peer into the high and mighty sky. If you don't get rid of the inner demons, how can you become a god? Second Grandpa frowned. There will always be a way. If there really isn't, then I will open up a cultivation path that belongs to me. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands, and a dazzling light burst out of his eyes. Open up a cultivation path that belongs to me. Second Grandpa's body and mind trembled. How much confidence and courage did he have to say something like that? He looked at Qin Feiyang at this moment. He felt that the thin figure seemed to be quietly giving birth to a supreme domineering aura. Can you really do it? Second Grandpa murmured in his heart. He calmed down and said with a smile, opening up a cultivation path that belongs to you is countless times more difficult than comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god. Since ancient times, no one has ever done it. However, this old man is looking forward to it. Qin Feiyang smiled and didn't continue the topic. The group of children had been following Qin Feiyang and Second Grandpa. They looked at Qin Feiyang with curiosity in their big eyes. Qin Feiyang looked at them. Although these children were young, according to his observation, each of them had extraordinary talent. If nothing unexpected happened, they would be the future heavenly talents of the great Qin Empire. A snot-nosed child ran to Second Grandpa and asked, Second Grandpa, is he the Qin Feiyang you wanted to tell us about just now? Yes. Second grandpa nodded. The snot-nosed child glanced at Qin Feiyang and said, he doesn't look that big of a deal. Yes. I thought he was someone great. Turns out he's not that great. The other children also nodded. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was actually being looked down upon by a group of children. Are you not convinced? If you have the ability, you can compete with Big Brother Lu Zheng. I feel that you're far inferior to Big Brother Lu Zheng. The snot-nosed child clamored. Qin Feiyang also became playful. He said jokingly, little brat, your big brother Lu Zheng is now facing the wall at Devil's Cliff to reflect on his mistakes. What? Devil's Cliff. The children's expressions changed when they heard the words Devil's Cliff. The snot-nosed child asked suspiciously, did Big Brother Zheng do something wrong? Why is he facing the wall at Devil's Cliff? He didn't do anything wrong. I used a little trick to make him face the wall at Devil's Cliff. Now tell me, between your big brother Lu Zheng and me, who is more powerful? Chapter 14:11. It can't be. Are you that capable? The snot-nosed kid was stunned. If you don't believe me, you can go to the Devil Cliff and take a look. Qin Feiyang said, but he was a little puzzled. What was so scary about the Devil Cliff? Not only Lu Zheng, but even these little kids were afraid. No, no. The snot-nosed kid shook his head and said, if you have the ability, you can go and fight with Brother Jin. I guarantee that you won't be able to take one move from him. Brother Jin. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Who was this? You don't even know who Brother Jin is? You're really ignorant. Let me tell you, Brother Jin stepped into the Battle Monarch realm at the age of 10 and the Battle Emperor realm at the age of 50. Second Grandpa and the others all said that Brother Jin is a genius that only appears once in 100,000 years. He's more powerful than anyone in the world. The snot-nosed kid first looked down on Qin Feiyang, then raised his little head and said proudly. He stepped into the Battle Emperor realm at the age of 50. Qin Feiyang was shocked. He turned to look at Second Grandpa with a questioning gaze. Don't listen to these little kids. It's not that exaggerated. However, one thing is true. Jin Er's talent is indeed better than Zheng Er's. Second Grandpa smiled. Then who is he? Qin Feiyang asked. After being together for so long, he naturally knew how talented Lu Zheng was. It was no exaggeration to say that Lu Zheng's talent could be ranked in the top 10 in the entire Great Qin Empire. However, he didn't expect that there was someone in the Lu family who was more talented than Lu Zheng. How could he not be surprised? Second Grandpa smiled and said, he's your eldest cousin, Lu Zhejin. He's also Lu Zheng's elder brother. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, I'm really looking forward to meeting him. Second Grandpa said, Jin is in seclusion to break through to the semi-divinity realm. However, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. What? Qin Feiyang turned pale with fright. He originally thought that his eldest cousin was just in seclusion to cultivate normally. He didn't expect that he was actually trying to break through to the semi-divinity realm. This was too terrifying. There's another interesting thing. Second Grandpa said again. Interesting? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, what interesting thing? He and Zhuge Mingyang were born in the same year, the same month, and the same day. They were even born at the same time. Second Grandpa said with a smile. No way. Qin Feiyang was stunned. How could there be such a coincidence? Absolutely. Second Grandpa said. Then this cousin of mine is really not simple. Qin Feiyang murmured. The two of them were born on the same day and at the same time. But now, his cousin was already pushing for a breakthrough to the semi-divinity realm. However, Zhuge Mingyang's current cultivation was even lower than his. The gap between them was too big. However, the Lu family had all kinds of potential pills recipes. As the prodigy of the Lu family, Lu Jiajin must have unlocked the door of potential just like Lu Zheng. His cultivation speed was naturally not something that Zhuge Mingyang could compare with. In terms of talent and potential, the two of them should be on par. Although your cousin's talent is extraordinary, he has been very low-key since he was a child. And like you, he is a cultivation maniac. So all these years, no one knows his name. Even the state preceptor and your father know that there is such a person in the Lu family, but they don't know his talent and cultivation. Second grandpa said with a smile. Qin Feiyang's face darkened and said, "Don't mention him in front of me." Of course, he was referring to the emperor. Second grandpa also realized that he had said something wrong and a trace of apology appeared on his face. Qin Feiyang asked, "Where is my cousin in seclusion now?" Second grandpa said, "In the forbidden area of the back mountain." "I know what you want to do. But don't disturb him now." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and couldn't help but feel disappointed. Hearing about him was not as good as meeting him in person. Frankly speaking, he really wanted to see just how monstrous this cousin of his was. Swish. But at this moment, a white figure appeared out of nowhere in the sky above the village. It was a young man, about 185 meters tall, with a handsome face and a tall figure. His snow-white clothes were spotless. His long black hair was casually draped behind his back, fluttering in the wind. There was no aura around him at all, as if he was one with the void. Even his arrival was not noticed by anyone in the village. "It's Brother Jean. Brother Jean is back." The first to notice the young man in white were a few teenagers. They looked at the young man in white and exclaimed in surprise. Second grandpa was stunned and looked up. Qin Feiyang's eyes also trembled slightly, and he immediately looked up at the young man in white. "Is he my cousin?" Although this young man in white had no aura at all, he gave him a great sense of danger. "Jean, why are you back?" Second grandpa looked at the young man in white suspiciously. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and asked in surprise, "Have you made a breakthrough?" The young man in white looked at second grandpa with a face full of respect. But he didn't answer second grandpa. Instead, he turned his eyes and fell on Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang didn't evade at all. The two pairs of eyes collided in the void. All of a sudden, Lu Jiajin raised his arm and hooked his finger at Qin Feiyang. The meaning was self-evident. He was provoking Qin Feiyang. "Jean, don't mess around." Second grandpa frowned and said. Swish. But before his voice died away, Qin Feiyang jumped and directly landed in the void opposite Lu Jiajin. "Come on, everyone. There's a good show to watch. Brother Jean, come on. Beat him down." The snotty kid immediately shouted excitedly. The other children also looked excited. It's Jean, Why is he back?" When everyone heard the snotty kid's voice, they looked up at Lu Jiajin with eyes full of suspicion. Suddenly, an old man's face changed and said in shock, "Are they going to fight?" "Jean, your cousin just came back. You can't bully him." "Yes. Your cousin is only a 4-star combat emperor. How can he be your opponent? Don't mess around. Come down quickly." The group of old men immediately tried to persuade them. But whether it was Lu Jiajin or Qin Feiyang, they turned a deaf ear to them. They only had eyes for each other. Boom! A gust of Emperor aura suddenly rushed out from Lu Jiajin's body. But this Emperor aura wasn't strong. It was only at the level of a 4-star combat emperor. And the cultivation level he revealed was only that of a 4-star combat emperor. 4-star combat emperor. Qin Feiyang was stunned. However, when he saw Lu Jiajin's expression, Qin Feiyang immediately understood. Lu Jiajin deliberately suppressed his cultivation level to the same level as him. In other words, Lu Jiajin wanted to have a fair fight with him. Let me see if you are as strong as the rumors say. Lu Jiajin finally spoke. His voice had a unique magnetism. It was very pleasant to hear. But Qin Feiyang couldn't hear any emotions from it. He felt that this person was like an emotionless robot. As you wish. Qin Feiyang's lips curled up. The aura of a 4-star combat emperor suddenly erupted. Swish. Following closely. The two of them didn't say anything else. With surging emperor aura, they charged toward each other. Second Grandpa, what should we do? A group of old men flew to Second Grandpa's side and asked anxiously. Second Grandpa looked at the two of them in the sky and shook his head with a smile. Jin is just testing Feiyang's strength. Feiyang also wants to spar with Jin Let them be. Boom. In the sky. Qin Feiyang and Lu Jiajin's first confrontation finally erupted. Neither of them retreated. They raised their fists and punched at each other. The moment the two fists collided, an apocalyptic shockwave spread out in all directions with the two of them as the center. Second Grandpa waved his hand. The false god force appeared and spread out in all directions. In just a moment, a giant barrier appeared and enveloped the entire village. The shockwave surged like a tide and hit the barrier. However, it didn't cause any waves and instantly dissipated. Jin, you have to know your limits. Don't hurt Feiyang. Some of the old men looked at Lu Jiajin and warned him loudly. Qin Feiyang's life was already bumpy. They didn't want Qin Feiyang to be hurt here. Boom. The two of them were in a stalemate in the sky. Around them, the wind howled. Terrifying power poured out from their fists and roared in all directions. The void above the village gradually distorted. The two of them stared at each other. Their cold eyes flashed with monstrous battle intent. Puff. 10 breaths later. Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost his balance and kept retreating. How could this be? My body has been tempered by divine blood, but I feel powerless in front of him. Qin Feiyang's face was calm, but there was a storm in his heart. At the same time, Lu Jiajin also retreated a few steps, but there wasn't even a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He was still as cold as before. I told you, he's definitely no match for Big Brother Jin. The snotty kid's little face was full of pride. He shouted, Big Brother Jin, beat him up and let him know how powerful we are. You little bastard, do you want to be beaten up? An old man's face darkened. He grabbed the snotty kid's ankle and hung him upside down in the void. He then slapped his little butt. Ouch, the snotty kid immediately wailed in pain. Boom. High in the sky. Qin Feiyang glanced at the snotty kid and looked up at Lu Jiajin opposite him. His eyes were full of battle intent. He took a step in the void and stabilized his body. Then, without saying a word, he raised his fist and punched. Stop. But at this time, Lu Jiajin stretched out his hand. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and stopped in the void, looking at him suspiciously. Lu Jiajin looked at Qin Feiyang, and a friendly smile suddenly appeared on his cold face. He said, Little cousin, our fight ends here. What? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He was just in the mood, but the other side stopped. The collision just now is enough to prove that your ability is indeed worthy of your reputation. Lu Jiajin said with a smile. There was a touch of appreciation in his eyes. Wait. It's just a collision. How can you judge my ability? Besides, I'm just in the mood, but you stopped. Aren't you deliberately making me feel uncomfortable? Qin Feiyang was dissatisfied. It was like standing in front of a beautiful woman who had already taken off her clothes and was ready to fight, but then told you that her period had come. Lu Jiajin laughed loudly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Right now, the gap between the two of us is too big. I am unable to go all out. In the future, when you step into the false god realm, let's have a good fight. As for how I judge your ability, speaking of this." Chapter 14:12. Divine Might. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. Second Grandpa and the others below were stunned at first, but then they all looked like they were wild with joy. "Although I suppressed my cultivation, as you can see, I have stepped into the semi-divinity realm. You should also know that after stepping into the semi-divinity realm, my body will undergo a qualitative change. Although we only met once, you were able to hold on for so long without suffering any serious injuries. This is enough to show that you are indeed very powerful." Lu Jiajin looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard this. Breaking through to the semi-divinity realm meant that Lu Jiajin had shed his mortal body and become a semi-divinity body. Although his current physical body was very strong, compared to a semi-divinity body, there was still a long way to go. After all, a semi-divinity body was considered half a divine body. No wonder he felt a sense of powerlessness when he clashed with Lu Jiajin. Huff. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and said, "Thank you for showing mercy, big cousin. You don't have to be humble. Although I suppressed my cultivation, I didn't show mercy. I have high hopes for you. I also believe that it won't be long before you can catch up with me." Lu Jiajin smiled. "I will work hard." Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Jiajin smiled and looked down at Second Grandpa. "Second Grandpa, I still have to stabilize my cultivation, so I will take my leave first. This is the first time you two have met. Don't you want to have a good chat with Feiyang? Moreover, you have successfully stepped into the semi-divinity realm, which is a great thing for the Lu family. We should celebrate." Second Grandpa said. "There will be plenty of time in the future." Lu Jiajin faintly smiled and nodded to Qin Feiyang. Then, he turned around and left, leaving everyone with a faintly discernible back. Lu Jiajin, big cousin, Qin Feiyang looked at the back and muttered to himself. To be able to step into the semi-divinity realm at such a young age, he was truly a monstrous genius. If Zhuge Mingyang knew that the person who was born in the same year, month, and day as him had already stepped into the false divinity realm and stood above the billions of living beings, how would he feel? Time flew by. In the evening, the entire Lu family was enveloped in a festive atmosphere. Firstly, it was because Qin Feiyang had returned. The second reason was because Lu Jiajin had suddenly become a pseudo-divinity. Even Second Grandpa could not help but drink a few more cups. Qin Feiyang really liked this feeling. He was surrounded by his family, and all he heard were concerned voices. There was no fighting or scheming, and everyone was happy and harmonious. That night, he also drank a lot. Midnight. The moon in the sky was very round and the moonlight was hazy. Most of the villagers had already fallen asleep. In a courtyard, Qin Feiyang was sitting at a stone table with Second Grandpa. They were drinking tea and chatting. Second Grandpa smiled and said, "Feiyang, this time you came back, there must be something else, right?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Tell me." Second Grandpa said. Qin Feiyang immediately told Second Grandpa about the 10 types of pill fire and Lu Xingqian's scheme in detail. After listening, Second Grandpa lowered his head and fell into deep thought. Qin Feiyang did not say anything to disturb him. After a long time, Second Grandpa's eyes flashed. He looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, "You killed Ren Duxing and severely damaged the Mu family of the Forgotten Continent. Even so, Lu Xingqian still did not do anything to you. It can be seen that he has a big plan. Qin Feiyang nodded. Second grandpa was silent for a moment. He sighed and said, I know what you mean. You want to beat him at his own game and kill Lu Xingqian to get rid of this disaster. But Feiyang, I can only apologize to you. Why? The last time I came, although I was accepting the inheritance, I know what happened at that time. I remember that in addition to you and third grandpa, there were 10 false gods at that time. With such a powerful lineup, I really don't understand. What are you still afraid of? Qin Feiyang said. Some things are far more complicated than you think. Although I don't know the background of the Mu family, I'm sure it's not that simple. Second grandpa said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, you mean that in addition to Mu Changyun and Mu Changfeng, the Mu family is hiding other false gods? That's inevitable. After all, even my Lu family has so many false gods, let alone the ambitious Mu family. However, the Mu family is not the reason why I'm afraid. Second grandpa said with a trace of bitterness. Then what is the reason? Qin Feiyang asked. I can't tell you now. I can only tell you this. Although I also want to enter the miracle site, I can't go. Not only can I not go, but your third grandpa and the 10 false gods that you know can't go either. To be exact, the false gods of our Lu family can't leave the great Qin Empire. Second grandpa sighed, his old face full of disappointment. Why is that? Qin Feiyang looked at second grandpa in confusion. This answer was completely out of his expectations. You will understand in the future. However, although we can't go, your cousin can. Because now, except for our own people, no one knows that he has broken through to the false god realm. I believe that with your cousin's strength and wisdom, he will definitely be able to help you in the miracle site. Second grandpa said with a smile. As you wish. Qin Feiyang sighed and did not force him to answer. Second grandpa looked at Qin Feiyang deeply and said with a smile, it's already very late, go and rest. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and then walked to the wooden building. But suddenly, he stopped and turned to look at second grandpa and asked, what about my grandfather? Why didn't he come to see me when I came back this time? Second grandpa's hands, which were hidden in his sleeves, suddenly clenched. There was a hint of murderous intent in the depths of his eyes. But Qin Feiyang did not notice any of this. Because second grandpa hid it very well. However, seeing that second grandpa did not speak for a long time, Qin Feiyang gradually felt uneasy and asked, did something happen to grandpa? No. Your grandfather is so powerful. How could something happen to him? Second grandpa hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang said, then why don't you tell me where he is now? Your grandfather is in seclusion. Even I can't see him, let alone you. But don't worry, when he comes out, he will definitely see you immediately. Second grandpa said with a smile. I hope so. Qin Feiyang sighed. With a heart full of disappointment, he turned and entered the wooden building. His thin back seemed particularly disappointed. Big brother, tell me, how should I tell Feiyang about this? If Feiyang knows the truth, I think he will definitely go crazy. I really don't know what to do, can you give me a hint? Second grandpa sat alone in the night. After watching Qin Feiyang enter the wooden building, he looked at the night sky and muttered to himself. His expression was full of helplessness. That night, it was destined to be a sleepless night. Qin Feiyang lay on the bed, wanting to take the opportunity to have a good sleep. But no matter what he did, he could not fall asleep. Therefore, before dawn, he got up and walked aimlessly in the village. Everything in the village was no different from an ordinary village. If someone who did not know came here, they would definitely think that this was a village where ordinary people lived. There was simplicity in the tranquility. After walking around the village alone, Qin Feiyang stood at the entrance of the village. He did not know where to go next. His heart was very confused. He glanced at the mountain range outside the village. Finally, he stepped forward and walked into the depths of the mountain range step by step. Along the way, he encountered many fierce beasts. There were strong and weak ones. But these fierce beasts were very docile, just watching him from afar. Gradually, the horizon was white. The sun rose from the horizon. The fierce beasts in the mountain range gradually began to become active. But when they saw Qin Feiyang, they silently retreated to the side. These fierce beasts were all raised by the Lu family. Although they had never seen Qin Feiyang before, when Qin Feiyang first entered the Lu family, second grandpa had already told them. In the future, no matter who saw Qin Feiyang, they could not hurt him. Half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang crossed a jungle and a vast plain came into sight. The plain covered an area of over 100 miles. There was not a single tree, not even a single blade of grass. However, there were medicinal herbs of various colors that were overflowing with vitality. So many medicinal herbs. Qin Feiyang stood on the edge of the jungle and glanced at the medicinal herbs on the plain. His eyes were full of surprise. There were too many. Densely packed, like a young girl swaying in the wind, gushing with dazzling light. The rich medicinal fragrance enveloped the entire plain. Wait. With so many medicinal herbs together, it obviously did not grow naturally. It should be the Lu family's medicinal field. I don't know if this medicinal field can be compared with the Mu family's medicinal field. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself as he strode into the medicinal field. Along the way, he basically recognized all the medicinal herbs. However, he found that many of the medicinal herbs were more than 10,000 years old. The deeper he went, the more precious the medicinal herbs he saw. Finally, he also found white jade fruit, purple spirit flower, and other extremely rare medicinal herbs. In the past 10,000 years, the Lu family's heritage should not be underestimated. Qin Feiyang murmured. Suddenly, he noticed that there was a faint black spot in the distance ahead. With suspicion, he walked quickly towards the black spot. Gradually, he saw the so-called black spot clearly. It turned out to be a small wooden building. It was very old and very simple, with only 2 floors in total. On the balcony on the second floor of the small wooden building, Qin Feiyang saw an old man. The old man had reached the age of 70, his body was stooped, his beard and hair were white. He sat cross-legged on the balcony, his eyes slightly closed, wearing a very old linen clothes, but it was very clean. His old face, with a bit of kindness. The old man also gave Qin Feiyang a very strong sense of intimacy. Qin Feiyang looked at the old man, step by step walked to the front of the small wooden building and stood under the balcony. The sense of intimacy deep in his heart became stronger and stronger. However, the old man did not seem to notice the arrival of Qin Feiyang and still closed his eyes. Chapter 14:13. His voice was very soft, but as long as one was not deaf, one could hear it. And the old man in front of him gave Qin Feiyang a sense of familiarity that his second and third grandfathers could not compare with. Therefore, he guessed that this old man was most likely his grandfather, who had never shown himself. But the old man still did not open his eyes. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was suspicious and said again unwillingly, Grandpa, I really miss you. Can you open your eyes and look at me? Another long time passed. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to rush to the balcony, the old man's eyelids moved and he finally opened his eyes slowly. It was a pair of cloudy eyes, but one could clearly see that there was a strong sense of loss in them. The old man just looked at Qin Feiyang without saying a word. Qin Feiyang urged, Answer me, are you my grandfather or not? Alas! The old man sighed and shook his head. I'm not your grandfather. You're not. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened and said, since you're not my grandfather, why do you give me such a strong sense of familiarity? Maybe it's because of this. The old man reached out and grabbed a crutch from the ground in front of him. The crutch was red all over, as if it was cast from magma, with a lifelike fire phoenix attached to it. Qin Feiyang looked at the crutch. The old man said, "This crutch was made by your grandfather himself. Can I go up and have a look?" Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. The old man nodded. Qin Feiyang jumped up, landed on the balcony, and took the crutch from the old man. The moment the crutch was in his hand, Qin Feiyang suddenly felt a stronger sense of familiarity than before. "It's really from this crutch," Qin Feiyang murmured. "Back then, when your grandfather was refining this walking stick, he added his own divine blood into it. That's why it feels so familiar to you." The old man explained. "I see." Qin Feiyang mumbled. He looked down at the old man and asked, "Then why is Grandpa's walking stick in your hands?" "I'm keeping it for him." The old man said. "Then who are you?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The old man said, "I'm your grandfather's younger brother, ranked 4th. You can call me 4th Grandpa." "4th Grandpa?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. In the past, he had thought that his grandfather only had one younger brother, who was his second grandpa. However, in the land of inheritance, his third grandpa had suddenly appeared. And now, 4th Grandpa had popped out of nowhere. How many brothers did Grandpa have? Would another 5th Grandpa pop up in the future? As if seeing Qin Feiyang's doubts, the old man said in a hoarse voice, "We only have 4 brothers." "Oh." Qin Feiyang nodded. He looked down at the crutch and suddenly asked, "Where is Grandpa now?" "Seclusion." 4th Grandpa replied without hesitation. "Seclusion," Qin Feiyang murmured. Last night, he heard from his second grandpa that Grandpa was in seclusion. He didn't believe it, so when he saw 4th Grandpa, he suddenly asked. Because when a person was faced with a sudden question, they would instinctively answer truthfully. In other words, he was trying to get information from 4th Grandpa. Hearing 4th Grandpa's straightforward answer, he didn't have any doubts anymore. Qin Feiyang reached out and stroked the walking stick. He asked, "4th Grandpa, can you give this walking stick to me?" "No." 4th Grandpa shook his head. He was very straightforward again. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. He held the walking stick with both hands and handed it to 4th Grandpa. 4th Grandpa reached out and grabbed the walking stick. He looked up at Qin Feiyang and sighed. "We can understand your feelings, but some things can't be forced." "I understand." Qin Feiyang nodded. "It's good that you understand." 4th Grandpa said lightly. Then he asked, "When I saw you enter the herbal field just now, you looked very confused. Were you thinking about something?" Compared with 2nd Grandpa and 3rd Grandpa, 4th Grandpa's character was a little cold. "You knew I entered the herbal field?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Of course. As long as someone enters the herbal field, I can sense it immediately." 4th Grandpa said. "Then why did you pretend you didn't see it just now?" Qin Feiyang was quite unhappy, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. He nodded and said, "I was thinking about something. This time I came to the Liu family, I thought I could find the answer in my heart, and I also thought I could see Grandpa. But in the end, I didn't get anything. This makes me very confused. There are a lot of helpless things in this world. Why do you have to be so persistent? Follow your own heart. Do what you should do. Thinking about something you can't figure out will only add to your troubles." 4th Grandpa said. "Add to your troubles, follow your own heart," Qin Feiyang murmured. Suddenly, he came to his senses. He bowed and said, "Thank you for your advice, 4th Grandpa. Go. Your life has just begun. The road ahead is very long. Do whatever you want to do. Don't leave yourself any regrets." Fourth Grandpa said with a smile. This was the first time he smiled since he met Qin Feiyang. Yes. Qin Feiyang replied with a bow. Then he turned into a stream of light and flew toward the village. What a smart boy. If second brother hadn't sent me a message in advance last night and told me clearly, I might have spilled the beans when he suddenly asked me such a question. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, Fourth Grandpa shook his head and murmured. Then he closed his eyes again and entered the state of meditation. When Qin Feiyang returned to the village, the sun had risen high in the sky. Most of the villagers had also gotten up. The old people gathered in twos and threes to exercise. The children also faced the morning sun and breathed in the vitality. Smoke rose in spirals over the entire village, presenting a peaceful scene. Feiyang, good morning. Where did you come from? Didn't you sleep last night? When he passed by the village entrance, several burly men who went out to do farm work greeted Qin Feiyang with a smile. They were very friendly. Yes, I slept. But I woke up early in the morning. Seeing that no one was up, I went to the nearby mountains for a walk. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. It seems that you haven't gotten used to our life here. Let me tell you, in our place, whether adults or children, basically sleep and rest every night. Yes, what is the purpose of living in this world? Isn't it to enjoy life? Why do you have to suffer for the pursuit of cultivation? You've just arrived. You certainly can't understand. After waiting for a long time, you'll gradually get used to it. Alright, let's not talk about it. We're going to work. There's still a large wheat field to weed. Let's drink together tonight. The burly men sighed and smiled at Qin Feiyang. Then, they carried their hoes and walked towards the wheat field in the distance. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with envy as he looked at Uzizi and the others. Although they were burly men, their cultivation wasn't weak. 2 of them were 8-star combat emperors and 4 were 7-star combat emperors. In the outside world, such a cultivation level was enough to dominate a region. But these people lived the lives of ordinary people. Every day, they ate, slept, and did farm work. They even enjoyed it. Frankly speaking, even Qin Feiyang felt inferior to such an indifferent state of mind. Shaking his head, Qin Feiyang turned around and entered the village. When a woman saw Qin Feiyang, she waved her hand from afar and said, Feiyang, I just made breakfast. Come and have some. Thank you, Auntie. Second Grandpa is still waiting for me at home. I'll visit your house when I'm free. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay, come over anytime. The woman nodded. Feiyang, come. These are freshly steamed meat buns. Take a few and try them. There's also soy milk. I made it myself. I also have freshly baked old mantou. Take a few and try them too. The villagers were too enthusiastic. Qin Feiyang almost couldn't handle it. However, looking at the smiling faces full of care, his heart felt very warm. This was what family was. Those hypocritical people in the imperial palace, compared to the people here, were simply not worth shit. Soon, he returned to the courtyard. Second Grandpa had already woken up and personally prepared breakfast for Qin Feiyang. 2 bowls of millet porridge, 2 portions of stir-fried vegetables, and a plate of kimchi. It was very simple. But it was very warm. The taste was also ordinary, but Qin Feiyang ate it. It was very delicious. Seeing Qin Feiyang eating with relish, Second Grandpa was also full of smiles and asked, Feiyang, how long are you going to stay this time? Qin Feiyang's arm slightly paused and said, I'll leave tomorrow. So soon? Isn't there still 5 or 6 days before the miracle opens? Second Grandpa asked. Qin Feiyang finished the millet porridge in the bowl in one breath, put down the bowl and chopsticks, wiped his mouth, and then looked up at the village and the villagers with a trace of reluctance in his eyes. After a while, Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze and sighed. I also want to stay here, but there are some things that I have to do. Second grandpa fell silent. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, but when I have time in the future, I will come back. At that time, don't think I'm annoying. What are you talking about? I can't wait to like it. Second grandpa glared at him. Qin Feiyang grinned, held the empty bowl, and said, is there any more millet porridge? I want to eat more. Yes. I specially prepared a big pot for you. Go and get it yourself. Second grandpa smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyang immediately ran to the kitchen excitedly. What's wrong with this boy? He was still unhappy last night. Why did he become a little different when he went out this morning? Second grandpa looked at Qin Feiyang's back suspiciously. All of a sudden, he shook his head and smiled. What was the point of thinking about this? As long as the boy was happy, it was fine. Happy times always passed quickly. A day passed. At night, Qin Feiyang chatted with second grandpa for a long time. And after being enlightened by fourth grandpa, he slept soundly that night. And he also had a good dream. In the dream, his mother also came to the village, and everyone gathered together. When he woke up the next day, he felt unprecedentedly comfortable. Second grandpa knew that Qin Feiyang was going to leave, so he got up very early and prepared a sumptuous breakfast for Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang also didn't leave anything behind. What was to come would come, and what was to go would go. After helping second grandpa clean up the dishes, Qin Feiyang suppressed the reluctance in his heart and said goodbye to him. Second grandpa didn't say much. He only said 2 sentences. The first sentence was, take care. The second sentence was, take care of Lu Zheng. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.